Chapter 1231, Using each other. The two of them arrived at Yin Xinlian's courtyard. After chatting for a while, Yin Xinlian found a catalyst to send Shilan out. Miss Jian Chui, I'm really full of grievances. I just can't stand Yun Chujia's overbearing way of doing things. I didn't expect her to make the palace master's wife dislike me with just a few words. Sigh. Yin Xinlian sighed and said. Miss Yin, you don't have to be sad. The palace master's wife is just unable to change the situation for the time being. She might forget about this matter in a few days. The key point was that Yun Chujio was really detestable. She was just an old country bumpkin from the Qingxian continent, yet she actually turned the tables and acted arrogantly in the Palace of Immortals. Jian Chui said through gritted teeth. Yin Xinlian's heart stirred. How could this Jian Chui be so resentful towards Yun Chujio? It was probably because the palace master's wife had always been good to her, so she felt that Yun Chujio had been taken care of by the palace master's wife, so she was not convinced. It seemed that this Jian Chui could be used. She was much more useful than Lu Yi. Miss Jian Chui, actually there are some things that I shouldn't have said, but since we hit it off, I'll only tell you. It's fine if you hear it. Miss Yin, just say it. Don't worry, I definitely won't reveal it to anyone. The palace master's wife is really too kind-hearted. Does a daughter of an old friend need to be taken care of like this? Moreover, she's too indulgent. Last time when the palace master's wife went to the Tianyuan Academy, not only was Yun Chujio extorting 1 million upper-grade spirit stones, she also extorted a lot of spirit tools. Now, she had also indulged her in beating up the palace maids of the Hall of Immortals. I reckon that Yun Chujio has forgotten her identity, Yin Xinlian said with a face full of anger. Yun Chujio, Jian Chui almost revealed Yun Chujio's true identity, but she still swallowed it back. If the palace lord's wife knew that she had leaked the secret, she would definitely not let her off, thus, she continued, she is indeed too arrogant. Such a person should be taught a lesson. Miss Yin, I can see that she has gone against you many times. With your identity, wouldn't it be easy for you to deal with her? Why haven't you taken care of her? Yin Sulian sighed, of course, it's because of the palace master's wife's face. Otherwise, I would have taken care of her long ago. Miss Jian Chui, Yun Chujio is extremely greedy. Who knows, she might do something. You are the palace master's wife's favorite. You must be careful. Don't be tricked by her. Tricked me? Humph. She better not provoke me. Otherwise, I'm not as easy to deal with as Lu Yi. Jian Chui said disdainfully. Yin Xinlian saw that it was almost time to sow discord, so she said, Miss Jian Chui, the food and food you eat in the Hall of Eternal Life are all top quality. I have nothing to give you. This 50,000 high-grade spirit stones can be considered as a small gift from me. Jian Chui pretended to decline a few sentences, but she still accepted the spirit stones. She had accepted quite a lot in the past, so she felt that it was only natural. After all, she was favored by the lady of the palace master, so it was very useful for her to put in a good word for her. Jian Chui walked out of the courtyard and couldn't help but sneer. Was Qin Mingzhu planning to use someone else to kill her? Did she really think that she was stupid? However, when she thought of Di Baiming's deep affection for Yun Chujio, the jealousy in her heart spread like weeds. Her esteemed self had always been cold and aloof, but ever since she met this Yun Chujio, she had become different from before. How could a little trash from the Azure Mystic continent obtain her esteemed self's deep love? She was not worthy at all. She knew that with her status, she was not worthy of her esteemed self. However, before her esteemed self met Yun Chujio, he had no intention of getting married. She was the closest woman to her esteemed self. As long as she watched silently and loved him silently, she would be satisfied. However, after having Yun Chujio, her esteemed self no longer belonged to her. Therefore, Yun Chujio had to die. Yin Xinlian, you want to use me? HMPH, let's see who will use who. Chapter 1232 Xiaojiu picks the spirit fruit on this day. Qin Mingzhu and the other two invited Yun Chuzhou to take a walk in the garden. Although Yun Chuzhou was not interested, she could not refuse. She followed the three of them to stroll around the garden in low spirits. She thought to herself, what's so good about this lousy garden? If only there were fruit trees, at least there would be fruits to eat. After the four of them strolled around for a while, Yin Xinlian brought them to a pavilion at the side to sit for a while. Then, they arrived at the pavilion. As soon as the four of them sat down, Jian Chui brought two maids over with snacks. After a while, Jian Chui said, for young ladies, although this garden is not bad, it will be a little boring after a long time. Why don't I bring you to the spirit fruit forest to stroll around? There are many spirit fruits that have already matured there. Yin Xinlian immediately echoed, spirit fruit forest. I've long heard that the Temple of Immortals has a spirit fruit forest, but I've never been there. There's no harm in taking a look. Qin Mingzhu and Bailey Yan also nodded in agreement. They also felt that there was nothing interesting these few days. Otherwise, Yin Xinlian would not have suggested to go to the garden and followed them. Can you pick the spirit fruits there? Yun Chujia's concern was always different from others. Jian Chui smiled. Of course. The four of you are all distinguished guests of the Temple of Immortals. Of course you can pick a few spiritual fruits. Hearing that, Yun Chuzhou immediately beamed. Then let's go. I like eating spiritual fruits the most. For young ladies, please follow me. Jian Chui turned around and signaled the four of them to follow her. A trace of viciousness flashed in her eyes. The spirit fruit forest was located at the northwest corner of the rear hall of the Temple of Immortals. It took them more than an hour to arrive at the spirit fruit forest. From afar, they could smell the fragrance of the spirit fruit. Yun Chuzhou took the lead and rushed to the front. Damn, there was such a good place. No wonder the pretty boy always had spirit fruits in his storage ring. It turned out that the Temple of Immortals had such a large spirit fruit forest. This guy didn't stand on ceremony either. He picked a red fruit and began to eat it with a simple rub. Qin Mingzhu and Bailey Yan looked at each other. This Yun Chuzhou was really a foodie. She didn't pose any threat to them at all. Jian Cui smiled and said, the three young ladies, you can also choose the spirit fruits that you like to eat and have a taste. Don't stand on ceremony. Qin Mingzhu and the other two picked one as a token and ate it. Yun Chuzhou was much more shameless than them. As she ate, she put it into her storage ring. Ladies, there are 7 star fruits here. The taste is very fresh and sweet. Follow me. Jian Chui gestured for everyone to follow her. After many twists and turns, they indeed found a few spiritual fruit trees with golden fruits. The golden fruits on the trees emitted a sweet fragrance and were very tempting. Next to these fruit trees was a barren land with weeds growing everywhere. Yun Chuzhou picked a 7-star fruit and started to eat it. Her eyes immediately lit up and she began to shamelessly put the 7-star fruits into her storage ring. This was the first time she had seen this thing, and it tasted really good. She had to decorate it more. Miss Jiu, the 7-star fruit on the branch here is yellow and big. Come and pick it. Jian Chui pointed at a fruit tree next to her. Yun Chuzhou looked up and sure enough, the 7-star fruit on the tree was yellow and big. She immediately began to pick the fruit under the tree happily. When Yun Chuzhou was tiptoeing to pick the fruit, Jian Chui exclaimed and bumped into Yun Chuzhou. Although Yun Chuzhou was not knocked down, she stepped on the barren land with one foot. Chapter 1233, I Forget Food. Yun Chuzhou felt a huge suction force and a thought flashed through her mind. People die for money, she dies for food. She was still too careless. Although she knew that Jian Cui and Yin Xinlian did not have good intentions, she did not expect that there was something strange in this desolate land. Qin Mingzhu and the others only felt a white light flash and Yin Chuzhou disappeared. At this time, Jian Cui said anxiously, "Miss Yin, why did you bump into me? This is great. Miss Jiu accidentally entered the Forbidden Land. I'm afraid that her life is in danger." Qin Mingzhu and Bailey Yan naturally did not worry about Yun Chujia's life or death. Instead, they focused on what Jian Cui said. "Ah, this must be Yin Xinlian wanting to take revenge on Yun Chuzhou," so she pushed Jian Cui, and then Jian Cui bumped into Yun Chuzhou. It was too vicious. "Jian Cui, don't slander me. Although I'm standing very close to you, I didn't touch you at all." Yin Xinlian never thought that Jian Cui would actually bite back and push the blame on her. She thought that she was the one who used her, but she didn't expect to be used by her instead. What a cunning bitch. Jian Cui looked aggrieved. "Miss Yin, there is a right and wrong judgment. I have to report this to the palace master's wife quickly. Otherwise, 9th Miss Life will be in danger." Jian Cui left in a hurry after saying this. "Madam, something bad has happened. 9th Miss entered the forbidden area by mistake." Jian Cui reported to the palace master's wife with a sobbing voice. The palace master's wife was leaning back on the recliner and drinking tea. When she heard the news, the teacup in her hand instantly fell to the ground and she grabbed Jian Cui by the neck. "What did you say?" The palace master's wife's spiritual power was superb and Jian Cui was almost strangled to death. Manager Luo hurriedly said, Madam, quickly stop. If you don't stop, Jian Cui will be strangled to death by you." Only then did the palace mistress let go and stared coldly at Jian Cui. What on earth is going on? Jian Cui coughed for a long time. Only then did she say, "The 4 young ladies were bored in the garden, so this servant brought them to the spirit fruit forest. While picking the 7-star fruit, Miss Yin bumped into me. I couldn't stand properly for a moment, so I bumped into the 9th young lady. Then, the 9th young lady stepped into the forbidden area." The palace master's wife slapped her back, and Jian Cui immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. She looked at the palace master's wife in disbelief. "Madam, it was really Miss Yin who bumped into me. I didn't mean it." "Bitch. You clearly knew that the 7 stars fruit tree was close to the forbidden area, so why didn't you warn them? If it wasn't for your intentional misdirection, would they have found the 7 stars fruit tree in the deepest part of the forest? Don't think that I don't know about your dirty thoughts. I originally wanted to give you a chance to change, but I didn't expect you to be so vicious. Manager Luo, take her to the death row and let her confront Yin Xinlian." The palace mistress was very regretful. She didn't expect Jian Cui to be so vicious, actually bumping the little rascal into the forbidden area. It was over. The little rascal was probably doomed. Bei Ming would hate her for the rest of his life. The palace master's wife dealt with Jian Cui and brought manager Luo to the spirit fruit forest in a hurry. Yin Xinlian saw the palace master's wife's gloomy expression and hurriedly said, "Palace master's wife, I really didn't bump into Jian Cui. I dare to swear in my heart demon that I really didn't bump into her." The palace master's wife looked at her coldly. "You didn't bump into her, but little Nine's girl accidentally entered the forbidden area. It must be related to you. Miss Yin, from today onwards, the Temple of Immortals does not welcome you. Moreover, you hurt my people on my Temple of Immortals territory. I will seek justice from the Yin family for this." Chapter 1234 Forbidden Area of the Temple of Immortals. Yin Xinlian's mind went blank. She had never thought that the palace master's wife would think so highly of Yun Chuzhou. Since the palace master's wife had already said such harsh words, it was impossible for her to marry into the Temple of Immortals again. However, the fact that the palace master's wife was so angry also meant that Yun Chuzhou was dead for sure. No matter what, she had achieved her goal. As for the palace lord's wife, she would just have to think of a way to please her in the future. There were no eternal enemies, only eternal benefits. The Yin family was not easy to bully. The palace lord's wife stood on the edge of the wasteland and let out a long sigh. Although the little rascal was very detestable, she had never thought of taking her life. She did not expect that in the end, it was because of her miscalculation that she had fallen into a dangerous situation. Bei Ming might really not forgive her. Although the hall master's wife blamed herself very much, she had no choice but to let everyone disperse. Of course, Yin Xinlian was basically under house arrest. She was not allowed to leave the courtyard at all. Although the hall master's wife was very unwilling, she could only use the voice transmission talisman to tell Di Baiming about the matter. After Di Baiming received the palace master's wife's message, his mind immediately buzzed. He immediately put down the things he was doing and returned to the Temple of Immortals, heading straight for the Spirit Fruit Forest. After the palace master's wife received the news, she also rushed to the edge of the Spirit Fruit Forest. She saw Di Baiming pacing back and forth on the desolate land. However, the strange thing was that nothing like what happened to Yun Chuzhou did not happen. He was not sucked in. The hall master's wife was also stunned. Baiming, why is this forbidden land not working? Although Di Baiming was dissatisfied with the hall master's wife, he still said, I don't know what happened either. Originally, I wanted to enter the forbidden land to save little Jiu, but I realized that I can't go in. Baiming, this is mother's negligence. It's mother's fault. Yin Xinlian and Dian Cui are both locked up by me. If you want to do anything, just do it. Mother won't stop you. The hall master's wife said in a panic. Di Baiming knew that the palace mistress didn't want to kill Yun Chuzhou, but even so, he was still dissatisfied. He said indifferently, let's first confirm little Jiu's safety. Sooner or later, I will destroy the Yin family. The palace mistress felt that Yun Chuzhou wouldn't survive, but she still comforted, little Jiu has always been blessed with a great life. Moreover, she has many tricks up her sleeve. She will definitely be safe. Otherwise, this forbidden area wouldn't have failed. Although Di Baiming knew that the palace master's wife was comforting him, he also felt that little Jiu would be fine. After all, little Jiu had encountered this kind of danger many times in the past, and in the end, she had met with misfortune. This time, she would definitely be able to do it. Baiming, your father will soon come out of seclusion. At that time, perhaps he will have some way to save little Jiu. Don't be too sad. The palace master's wife saw that Di Baiming did not blame her loudly, she did not overdo it. On the contrary, she was even more worried. This silly boy must not be too stubborn. Di Baiming nodded lightly. Take good care of Yin Xinlian. Little Jiu will find her when she comes out. No matter how she looked at it, the palace master's wife felt that Di Baiming's behavior was a little strange. She could only secretly instruct an Yin to take good care of Di Baiming and not ask him to do anything stupid. An Yin secretly felt that their revered lord would not do anything stupid. This was because he was already numb from being scared by the ninth miss. The ninth miss would encounter such a thing once in a while. But what exactly was going on in this forbidden land? Chapter 1235, Barren Land. At this moment, Yun Chuzhou was grilling meat. Ever since she was sucked in 3 days ago, Yun Chuzhou had been looking for a way out, but to no avail. This fellow thought about it for a moment. He had underestimated his enemy too much. He felt that a little handmaiden would not be able to turn the situation around, he did not expect to be tricked. Jian Cui had previously spread some unfavorable remarks against her, so she should be wary of her. She had to learn from her mistakes in the future. It might be too smooth sailing recently, so her vigilance had also become lower. When Yun Chuzhou first came in, she was completely dumbfounded. She felt as if she was in an egg. The edges were very low, and only the middle part was slightly higher. However, it was only slightly higher than Yunchujia's height. This was a barren land where not a single blade of grass grew. There was no sun in the sky, no moon, and no stars, so there was no so-called day and night. It was always dark. Although this place was not completely dark, the progress was very slow. Fortunately, Yunchujio had the luminous pearl, so it did not affect the lighting. There were only broken stones on the ground. There was not a single living thing. Yunchujio thought to herself that it was fortunate that there was still air here, or else she would really die. She did not know why the Temple of Immortals had such a forbidden place. Moreover, shouldn't there be a sign on the forbidden place? How could there be no sign at all? If there was a sign, she would not have been tricked by Dian Cui. She did not know that there was a sign on the forbidden area. It was a big rock with the words Forbidden Area written on it. However, Dian Cui had covered it up with some wild grass and Yunchujia's attention was on the 7-star fruit, therefore, she did not see it at all. It was really strange. Normally, the Forbidden Land was either locked up with a person or a demon beast. Why was the Forbidden Land here completely bare? Wasn't it a waste of time? It was simply a waste of land. It would be better to plant a few more spirit fruit trees. Hey! Is anyone out of breath? Come out and have a chat. I have delicious food here. Aren't you hungry? Hurry up and come out. Maybe I can save you. Yunchujio shouted for a long time but there was no response. She could only continue to grill the meat and fill her stomach first. The gigolo knew that she was trapped here and would definitely think of a way. After a few days, Yunchujio still did not meet any living creatures. The place was dead silent. If it were an ordinary person, they would definitely go crazy. However, Yunchujia's mental fortitude was very good, she did not think much of it. However, there was one time when she wanted to release Xiao Hanio and the others to relieve her boredom. She was surprised to find that Xiao Hanio and the others looked like they were going to die as soon as they were released. She quickly put them away. Master, you almost killed us. What the hell is outside? It's suffocating. Xiao Hanio complained. Suffocating? I don't feel anything wrong with it. I feel the same as the outside, and I feel quite comfortable. Yunchujio said in confusion. Xiao Hanio and the other two looked at each other. Alright, their black-hearted master was a pervert. The pressure outside was so scary that only their perverted master could not feel it. At that moment, Di Biming was asking Di Linhan who had just come out of seclusion, Father, what exactly is going on in that forbidden area? Since young, you have warned me not to go near it. What exactly is locked up there? Is there any way to save little Jill? Chapter 1236, Qi of Hundun. Di Linhan listened to Di Biming recount what had happened, he could not help but glare at the lady of the palace hall, nonsense. Since you know that Dian Cui is restless, why don't you just deal with her? If you deal with her decisively, will there be anything that will happen in the future? The lady of the palace hall was like a little daughter-in-law who had been bullied, husband, this time, it was really my fault. I did not think that a little Dian Cui would be able to cause such a big mess. You should quickly think of a way to save the little rascal. Di Linhan stared helplessly at the palace lord's wife, then he sighed, that forbidden area has been there ever since the Temple of Immortals had set up our faction. The successive palace lords have always warned the next palace lord that he must not enter that forbidden area. Once he enters, he will definitely die. Father, what exactly is inside that place? Is it that scary? Di Biming asked anxiously. Di Linhan let out a long sigh, there is no demon beast locked in there, what is sealed in there is the Qi of Hundun. Qi of Hundun. The Qi of Hundun before the heavens and earth were opened. Di Biming asked in surprise. That's right, once a cultivator enters, they will not be able to withstand the immense pressure inside, and naturally they will not be able to survive. Di Biming's mind buzzed. He had not been particularly worried at first. After all, the little 9 ghosts had many ideas. But this time, he was afraid that the odds were against him. Di Biming forced himself to calm down. He then asked, "Father, then why is the forbidden area suddenly closed and I cannot enter? This is also the first time I have encountered such a situation. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be like this. Perhaps the little girl has had some fortuitous encounter." Di Linhan guessed. The palace mistress hurriedly said from the side, Right, the little lass is very clever. Who knows, she might really have had a fortuitous encounter." Di Linhan glared at her. "Stop right there, it's all your fault." The palace mistress shrank her neck, not daring to make a sound. "Father, is this Qi of Hundun related to our Hall of Immortals?" Di Biming didn't know why, but he suddenly thought of this question. This father doesn't know. It's just that ever since the lifelong Saint Hall came into existence, this forbidden ground has always existed. It's hard to say whether our ancestors of the Di clan were there to protect this Qi of Hundun, or to guard this Qi of Hundun. There's a certain fate in the dark. The little lass will definitely be fine. If it wasn't for the fact that there's something strange, the forbidden ground wouldn't have suddenly closed. Di Linhan consoled. He was also afraid that Di Biming would resent the palace lord's wife because of this. "Father, can I inform my master about this? Let's see if the old man has any way to save little Jiu." Di Linhan was silent for a moment, and looked at the pleading faces of Di Biming and his wife. He gritted his teeth and said, Forget it. The old man of the Heaven Lake is also a mighty figure who lives in the hearts of the people. I believe that he will keep this a secret. You can ask." Di Biming immediately sent a voice transmission talisman to the old man of the Heaven Lake, and the old man of the Heaven Lake quickly replied, "The array formation that can seal off the Qi of Hundun, this old man is also powerless. However, since the array formation of the Forbidden Land was suddenly shut off, it must be because the little girl hasn't died yet. Or it must be another fortuitous encounter. It's better to wait and see. Moreover, the little girl isn't even afraid of the pressure of the heavenly lightning. Perhaps she can withstand the pressure of Hundun's Qi. Don't be too worried." When Di Biming heard his master say this, his heart became even more worried. Although little Nine had overcome countless difficulties, this time it was even more difficult than before. Moreover, he couldn't help it all. Could she endure it? Chapter 1237, The Black Bead. Yun Chujio counted with her fingers. She had been trapped here for 10 days. Although she did not have to worry about food and drink, it was not a problem to continue like this. She had to think of a way. However, she had used all the methods she could think of. Even cursing the Tian Dao was useless. How could she get out? Yun Chujio finally decided to dig a hole. She felt that since she had nothing to do, she might be able to get out of the underground. Therefore, the guy took the pickaxe and began to dig. After digging a few feet deep, a layer of soil began to appear below, but there were still no signs of life inside. Yun Chujio could not help but complain, "Damn it. Was this the time when Hundun had yet to open? There was no sun or moon, and the sky was so close to the earth. Most importantly, there was not a single living thing. Could it be that I had traveled to the era of Wonton? Ha! The guy clapped his hands. Then wouldn't I become Pangu? Let me think about it. How did the legend say that Pangu created the world? Whatever, they'll try to see if the kitchen knife can separate the sky and the earth." Yun Chujio held the kitchen knife and cut the edge of the egg. After a few cuts, the edge of the egg really began to rise slowly. Yun Chujio was delighted. There was a door. Hence, this fellow brandished the large kitchen knife and slashed at the egg. The surrounding of the egg gradually rose up. Yun Chujio felt a sense of accomplishment, but it was useless. It was just that the space was a little more spacious. Yun Chujio tried to get the little black bird to come out, but the little black bird was still unable to withstand the pressure from the outside. Xiao Hanio could not withstand the pressure. Yun Chujio continued to dig the pit. This fellow thought to himself, everyone says that the earth is round, but this Tianyuan continent might also be round. As long as I keep digging, I will definitely be able to dig through it. After digging for 10 days, Yun Chujio did not find anything, let alone where it led to. Just when this fellow was feeling a little discouraged, the black bead flew out from between Yun Chujio's brows and floated in the air. A vortex formed around the black bead, and the gas inside the egg began to rush into the black bead. Yun Chujio was stunned for a moment before she could not help but shout, "Glass ball! If you suck all the air into your body, how am I supposed to breathe? If I die, who will provide you with the power of lightning? You idiot, why aren't you stopping?" The black bead completely ignored her and continued to suck the air into her body. Yun Chujio was so angry that she went to grab the black bead. However, the black bead was very agile and Yun Chujio couldn't grab it at all. Yun Chujio was so angry that she cursed loudly, "Glass ball! You bastard! You idiot! All you did was eat and eat all day. You didn't do a single good thing. Now you want to cut off my path of survival. If I catch you, I will definitely teach you a lesson. Just you wait. If I can get out of here, I will throw you into the spirit beast house of the Tianyuan Academy and suffocate you to death." The black bead trembled. No one knew if it was out of anger or fear, but it continued to absorb the gas. Yun Chujio soon discovered a problem. Although the black bead had been absorbing the gas, however, she did not feel any difficulty in breathing. Could it be that the black bead had only absorbed a portion of the gas in the air? In order to experiment, Yun Chujio released Xiao Hanio. Although Xiao Hanio still felt uncomfortable, it felt much better than before. Only then did Yun Chujio confirm that the black bead must be absorbing something in the air. Since it would not have any negative effects on her, it could absorb it if it wanted to. Chapter 1238 Uncle-in-law. Finally, the black bead had absorbed enough. It flew back to Yun Chujio's forehead with a satisfied expression, and then returned to her dantian. Just as Yun Chujio was about to interrogate the black bead, Yun Chujio felt a white light flash in front of her eyes, and then she fell into a warm embrace. "Little Jiu. It's great that you're okay." Di Biming had been waiting in the forbidden area. When he saw Yun Chujio being bounced out, he hugged her in his arms. Just as Yun Chujio was about to get close to Di Biming, she realized that there were two people standing beside her. One was an old witch, and the other was a middle-aged beautiful uncle. This guy said in a reserved manner, "Big brother Biming, that must be my uncle, right?" Di Biming was filled with guilt and lovesickness when he heard the word uncle. His ears turned slightly red and he let go of Yun Chujio. "Little Jiu, this is my father." "Father, this is little Jiu." Di Linhan sized up Yun Chujio without batting an eyelid. Second level of the spirit sect. This was probably not the little girl's true spirit energy. The little girl's eyes were bright and it was obvious that she had a temperamental personality. It was the complete opposite of Bei Ming's personality. Di Linhan nodded his head. "Little Jiu, this matter was our longevity hall's negligence. We will give you an explanation." "Uncle, you are being too polite when you say that. We are all one family, we don't need any explanation or anything like that. Isn't that right, Aunt?" Yun Chujio looked smilingly at the madam who was pretending to be an ostrich at the side. "Humph. It was my negligence this time, I will just give you some compensation. But you little scoundrel, you also have to reflect on yourself. If you are not greedy, will you be framed? How could Ming Zhu and Bailey Yen be fine? It's all because you are greedy. The palace lord's wife said in a stern manner but in a cowardly manner. Mother. Little Jiu has suffered so much, don't talk about her anymore. Di Biming said disapprovingly. The palace lord's wife almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This little brat really forgot his mother when he had a wife. Bah! This little scoundrel would never be the daughter-in-law of our Di family. Di Linhan coughed and the lady of the hall master and Di Biming did not say a word. It was clear that in this family, Di Linhan's position as the head of the family was unbreakable. Little Nine Lass, I have heard about the matter between you and Biming from the Lady of the Hall of Immortals. Although our position in the Hall of Immortals does not need to be consolidated through marriage, but Biming has a lot of guts on his shoulders. I hope that his future lady will be able to help him share the burden. And you yourself have a heavenly thunder spirit root that the Tian Dao does not tolerate. Not to mention sharing the burden, I'm afraid that you will also implicate Bei Ming. Di Biming was about to argue when Di Linhan waved his hand, he gestured for him not to interrupt him. Of course, I am not a pedantic person. As long as you can prove that you have the ability to protect yourself, I will not obstruct your matters. But in the current situation, I really cannot be convinced. A mere serving girl is able to put you in danger. Your vigilance is really too poor. Yun Chujia's heart tightened. Compared to the old witch, this old fogey was much more difficult to deal with. She said solemnly, Uncle, you are right. I was really too careless this time. Because things were going too smoothly in the past, my vigilance has been lowered. However, I will definitely not let such a thing happen again in the future. One day, I will support Brother Bei Ming and stand shoulder to shoulder. Little girl, your tone is not small. Then I will wait and see. How are you going to handle this matter? Di Linhan asked in a deep voice. I will naturally kill Dian Chui. As for Yin Xinlian, I can blackmail the Yin family to make some concessions and the Temple of Immortals will also gain a lot of benefits. As for me, the life and death arena will be in a month's time anyway. I will kill her myself. Yun Chujio said nonchalantly. Chapter 1239 was not entirely out of the question. Oh. You're letting Yin Xinlian off just like that. Aren't you feeling indignant? Di Linhan was a little shocked in his heart, but his expression did not change as he asked. Indignant? I, Yun Chujia's enemy, will only be more appeased if I settle it with my own hands. Moreover, Yin Xinlian would only be able to add fuel to the fire at most. Even if she was convicted of the crime, she would not be able to do anything to her. Why don't we exchange some benefits for the Temple of Immortals? No matter what, the Temple of Immortals will belong to Big Brother Bei Ming and me in the future. The more money we have, the better. Yun Chujio said with a smile. The corners of Di Linhan's eyes twitched a little. Was this little lass trying to intimidate him in a disguised way? However, this little lass had quite a good eye for things and she had considered all aspects of the matter. He would have to wait and see. If she could really protect herself and Bei Ming liked her, it was not impossible. We will do as you say. However, how did you get out of the Forbidden Land? What is the situation inside? Di Linhan changed the topic and asked the question of the Forbidden Land. Yun Chujia's heart turned a few times, she said in a picky manner, it was like a big egg inside. I looked like Hun Dun had not opened yet, so I took the big kitchen knife and cut it open. Then, I was bounced out. What exactly is that place? It was deserted inside and there was no sign of life. Di Linhan and the other two were shocked. They did not expect Yun Chujio to be able to guess the essence of the forbidden area. What happened to you guys? Did I say something wrong? Yun Chujio asked in confusion when she saw the three of them looking confused. Little Jiu, the energy of Hun Dun was sealed there. Maybe you broke the array by accident and were sent out. Although Di Biming felt that this explanation was a little far-fetched, there was no other explanation. Di Linhan also felt that it was a little unbelievable, but since he was fine, then everyone was happy. It was better to deal with the Yin family first. After Yin Xinlian was placed under house arrest, she used a voice transmission talisman to tell her father about the matter, Yin Qinghua, the head of the Yin family. When Yin Qinghua heard that his precious daughter was under house arrest, he immediately rushed to the Temple of Immortals. However, both Di Baiming and the mistress of the palace lord did not have the mood to bother with him and kept him in the guest room. Finally, the guards of the Palace of Immortals came over to invite him. Yin Qinghua brought Yin Xinlian to the guest room. After Yin Qinghua entered the guest room, he saw Di Linhan sitting on the main seat. Di Baiming and the mistress of the palace lord sat on both sides. A young girl was sitting on the chair next to Di Baiming. She should be Yun Chuzhou, who had always been against the Yin family. It seemed that she had been rescued from the forbidden area, which made things easier. As long as she was not dead, he could just give her some compensation. Greetings to the palace lord's wife, your eminence. Yin Qinghua cupped his fists. Di Linhan was rather polite. Palace Lord Yin, please take a seat. As I have been busy saving little Jiu recently, I have been neglectful. I hope you can forgive me. Yin Qinghua's face was filled with guilt. Palace Lord, although my daughter is not the main culprit, but she had unintentionally become an accomplice. I am really ashamed. My daughter is still young, and I acted a little impulsively. I hope you can forgive me, Palace Lord. Yin Qinghua did not refuse. It was useless to refuse. With the methods of the Hall of Immortals, they would definitely be able to interrogate that maid thoroughly. Although Xinlian did not directly harm Yun Chuzhou, she helped to invite her, adding fuel to the fire. It was impossible to get her even if one wanted to. Chapter 1240, Exterminate the Yin Clan. The corners of Di Linhan's mouth curled up. Clan head Yin, Little Jiu is someone that the Temple of Immortals is protecting. Your Yin clan has repeatedly tried to kill her. What is the meaning of this? I heard that the Yin clan has been developing quite well recently. Their territory has expanded quite a bit and they have also taken in many disciples. I believe that your Yin clan must have some ideas, right? Yin Qinghua immediately understood Di Linhan's intentions. He quickly stood up and said, Hall Master, this is purely a misunderstanding. You might not know this, but I have a useless nephew who is also studying at the Tianyuan Academy. He had some friction with Yun Chuzhou. This rascal complained to my second brother. My second brother has been indulging his child and has done some foolish things. I have already taught him a lesson. I promise that this will not happen again. Yun Chuzhou's mouth twitched in her heart. This Yin family was really a nest of snakes and rats. One by one, they framed another, and all of them were not good people. Di Linhan gave a noncommittal smile and said, Patriarch Yin, Little Jiu the last gave me a recording stone. The Yin family's secret guards do not place much importance on our Temple of Immortals. Patriarch Yin, if your Yin family has any thoughts towards the Temple of Immortals, we can use real swords and spears to spar. After all, our Temple of Immortals has always held the #1 position in the Tianyuan continent and it is inevitable that some people will be unconvinced. Yin Qinghua started to break out in cold sweat. A real battle with the Hall of Immortals? What a joke! Who would be able to defeat the Hall of Immortals? Hall Master, it is indeed our Yin clan's fault for what happened to Yun Chuzhou. We are willing to fork out 10 million high-grade spirit stones to compensate the Hall of Immortals as a token of our apology. Yin Qinghua thought about it and decided that he had to pay the price to avoid disaster. Seeing that Di Linhan was not speaking, Yun Chuzhou knew that it was time for her to go on stage, hence, she howled, "Io! My life is so bitter." She had thought that with Auntie protecting me, I would be able to live in peace and stability. She had not expected that the Temple of Immortals would not be able to function well either, and that there would be people who would purposely slap the Temple of Immortals in the face. He has harmed me time and time again. If not for my life, I would have died thousands of times. 10 million high-grade spirit stones. Pa! Is my little life so worthless? Is the face of the Temple of Immortals so worthless? This is to get rid of beggars. How shameless! The corners of Di Linhan's eyes twitched violently once. Yin Qinghua, on the other hand, was extremely furious. This Yun Chujio was indeed just like what Xinlian had said. She was really detestable and difficult to deal with. With her meddling, he could only raise the price again. Miss Yun, our Yin family has indeed done something wrong, but it takes more than one slap. You have also done something wrong. How about this, 15 million, we shake hands and make peace. Pooey. You shameless old man, who wants to shake hands with you? Are you trying to take advantage of me? Yun Chujio placed her hands on her waist and shouted angrily. Yin Qinghua's old face immediately turned red and he was trembling with anger. Little Jiu girl, don't be rude. Step down now. Di Linhan managed to hold back his laughter after much difficulty. In his heart, he somewhat understood why his cold son would like this little girl. The cold personality of the northern desert. Only a girl like this could open up his heart. Yun Chujio pursed her lips. Uncle, although my words are not pleasant to hear, but they come from the bottom of my heart. The Yin clan has publicly smacked the face of our Temple of Immortals. No matter what you say, we cannot let them off so easily. Otherwise, if other powers were to follow suit in the future, would our Temple of Immortals still be able to live? If you ask me, at the very least, I want the Yin clan to compensate us with 1/5 of our share of the Spirit Stone mine. Not even a little less. Otherwise, we can just fuck them and wipe out the Yin clan. At the same time, they can give it to me as a dowry in the future. Chapter 1241. Being uncultured was truly terrifying. Yin Qinghua was so angry that he didn't even care about his status. He angrily shouted, 1/5 of the Spirit Stone mine share. Why aren't you going to rob it? Patriarch Yin, what you said is wrong. What do you mean I'm not going to rob it? The Temple of Immortals has always yearned for peace and disdained to rob your things. You were clearly the ones who provoked us, and I asked you to kill me. I asked your daughter to frame me. When you do something wrong, you have to bear the consequences. You are so old, don't you understand that? It's so scary to be uncultured. Yun Chujio curled her lips. She said disdainfully. You. This is outrageous, you are twisting logic. Uncle-in-law, you have seen it too, they have no remorse at all. Otherwise, forget it, they would rather sacrifice their lives than their wealth, and just push Yin Xinlian into that forbidden land, and let her be trapped there for a lifetime. Yin Qinghua was so angry that he gritted his teeth. He was also an old fox. Naturally, he could see that Yun Chujio's nonsense was tacitly approved by Di Linhan. She wanted to make the Yin family bleed more. Di Baiming had not said anything all this while. At this moment, he said indifferently, Patriarch Yin, my men accidentally discovered a secret of your Yin family. Perhaps the Gui Yuan sect, Medicine Valley, and the Blood Demon sect would be very interested. When Yin Qinghua heard this, he was immediately shocked. Impossible. Could it be that Di Baiming had discovered that matter? Impossible. Patriarch Yin, every faction will do something like planting a spy. Originally, it's not a big deal. However, destroying the other party's protective array, isn't this a little too much? Di Baiming said coldly. Yin Qinghua almost fell to the ground. He actually knew that if this matter was found out by the other factions, their Yin clan would become the target of public criticism. The current plan was to first stabilize the Temple of Immortals, and then make those spies stop, only then could they cover it up. Temple Master, Your Eminence, 1/5 of the share of spirit stones is really too difficult to accept. 1/10 is the most our Yin clan can bear. Yin Qinghua said through gritted teeth. Di Linhan sighed, since that's the case, then let it be. Don't blame me for being greedy. Little Jiu has been entrusted to us by our old friend, so we naturally have to protect her. Your Yin clan has repeatedly tried to harm her. If our Hall of Longevity doesn't do anything, it will be hard to avoid people gossiping about her. Yin Qinghua was so angry that he started to twitch. He had really taken advantage of her and had to agree, this matter is indeed the fault of our Yin clan. In the future, such a thing will never happen again. Please rest assured, Hall Master. Uncle, as the saying goes, the longer the better. Since the Yin clan head has agreed, it's best to put it on paper. There are some people here who might not admit to it later, Yun Chujio said leisurely. Yin Qinghua was so angry that he gnashed his teeth, but there was nothing he could do. He could only stamp the Yin clan head's seal on the contract drawn up by the Hall of Immortals. Just like that, 1/10 of the spirit stones fell into the hands of the Hall of Immortals. Yin Xinlian's long fingernails had already sunk into her palms. The hatred in her heart was about to explode. Yun Chujio, I will definitely take back today's humiliation. I will take your life on the life and death arena. Even if the Hall of Immortals wanted to vent their anger on what happened in the academy, there was nothing they could do. Uncle-in-law, the Yin clan is so sincere. Guests are guests. Should we prepare a good meal to entertain them? Yun Chujio sneered in her heart when she saw Yin Xinlian's expression. Yin Xinlian, this is only the beginning. How dare you provoke me? I'll torture you to death. Chapter 1242 did not even have a window. How could Yin Qinghua have the mood to eat? He barely suppressed the rage in his heart, and after a few polite words, he led Yin Xinlian away. Seeing that they had left, Yun Chujio said with a smile, Aunt, Uncle, I have done a meritorious deed, right? This 1/10 share of spirit stones is more than 10 or 20 million. Don't you guys want to reward me as well? The wife of the palace lord was a little better off. After all, she had seen Yun Chujio's shameless behavior many times before, but this was the first time Di Linhan had seen it. The shock in her heart could be imagined. However, the older the ginger, the spicier it was. Di Linhan said without batting an eyelid, My wife, I remember that you said you wanted to talk to me about something. What is it? Let's go to my study room and talk. Yun Chujio watched helplessly as Di Linhan left with the palace master's wife. Before she left, the palace master's wife curled her lips at her, obviously mocking her. Yun Chujio stomped her feet in anger. Prince Charming, why is your father even worse than your mother, bullying others? This fellow wanted to say that he was shameless, but he was afraid that Di Biming would be unhappy, so he changed his words to bullying others. Di Biming smiled dotingly, they are playing with you. Humph. Forget it, they are just stingy, they just don't want to give me spirit stones. Yun Chujio pouted. Di Biming saw Yun Chujio's charming appearance, and his heart instantly softened. He hugged Yun Chujio and kissed her. Yun Chujio was dizzy from the kiss. She thought to herself, the gigolo had learned his lesson and kissed her whenever they were not on speaking terms. When the two of them were having an intimate moment, they heard an phone call out from outside, Miss Qin Mingzhu, Miss Qin, and Miss Bailey Yen are here to see you. Di Biming frowned and had no choice but to let go of Yun Chujio. His desire was not satisfied, so his face naturally did not look any better. Mingzhu, Bailey Yen, greetings, Your Excellency. Qin Mingzhu and Bailey Yen bowed to Di Biming. Di Biming looked at them indifferently, and then said coldly, Miss Qin, I'm not that familiar with you. Next time, you should bring your surname with you. Could it be that you're dissatisfied with the Qin surname? Qin Mingzhu's face instantly flushed red, and she almost fainted from embarrassment. She could only say, "Yes, Ming, I understand." Bailey Yen was very proud in her heart. Yin Xinlian had already been eliminated, and now Qin Mingzhu was being dissed by Her Excellency. It seemed that she had the greatest chance. "Junior Yun, it's great that you're all right. It's obvious that Yin Xinlian has ulterior motives. From now on, Senior will protect you." Bailey Yen said through this matter, she felt that the palace master's wife was still very concerned about Yun Chuzhou, so she said this. Yun Chuzhou had already retreated to the side as a quail when Qin Mingzhu and Bailey Yen entered. Now that she heard Bailey Yen say this, she said happily, "Then thank you, Senior Bailey Yen." Although Di Biming wanted to chase Qin Mingzhu and Bailey Yen out, he knew that it was not the time to announce his relationship with Yun Chuzhou. He could only say in a low voice, "What a noise. You guys can chat. I still have something to do." Although Qin Mingzhu and Bailey Yen felt extremely regretful, they were already used to Di Biming's cold attitude. They were a little disappointed. They immediately asked Yun Chuzhou, "Junior Yun, how did you get out of the forbidden area? Did you let Yin Xinlian off just like that?" "That's right, the hall master didn't ask the Yin family to make any compensation." Yun Chuzhou said with a blank look, "After I fell into the forbidden area, I didn't know anything. Later, my uncle saved me." As for compensation, when they were discussing official matters, they activated the isolation array. I don't know how they discussed it. Yun Chuzhou was very smart. If they wanted to get information from her, they didn't even have a window, let alone a door. Chapter 1243, Shameless Father and Mother Di Linhan Study. The lady of the palace hall had a noble and overbearing appearance in front of outsiders, but in front of Di Linhan, she had suddenly turned into a little fangirl. "Linhan, the incident this time was indeed my negligence. I had thought that even a little handmaiden would not be able to turn the heavens upside down, but who would have thought that she had stirred up such a huge disaster? Please forgive me this time." The lady of the palace hall saw that Di Linhan's expression was not worried. She said humbly in a low voice. "Humph. What kind of banquet are you throwing every now and then? I'm not going to scold you. If you have nothing better to do, then go out and show off. I'm not going to scold you either, but look at how the rear hall has been controlled by you. If it wasn't for the fact that little Jiu was so lucky, if she had really died within the forbidden grounds, I'm afraid that the northern seas would never forgive you for the rest of your life." Di Linhan said furiously. He had been worried about Yun Chuzhou's safety for the past few days and he had not had the time to settle the score with the palace lord's wife. Now, he had settled the score. "Linhan, I have indeed been a little indulgent towards them recently and I will take good care of them. Besides, that little rascal has always been clever and quick-witted. Who would have thought that he would be tricked because of his gluttony? He had really nearly gotten me killed. You are still trying to quibble. No matter how clever she is still just a child. Moreover, she is not familiar with this place and it is inevitable that there will be times when she will be negligent. You clearly know that Jian Chui and Yin Xinlian are up to no good and you still gave them a chance to show off. Do you still have a point?" Di Linhan shouted sternly. The wife of the palace lord shrunk her neck in guilt, her eyes reddened. "Linhan, I know that I am useless. I do not have as high a spiritual power as your 3 junior sisters and I do not have the same family background as them. You must be regretting marrying me. Sob. Since that is the case, I will ask for permission to step down from the hall. I will make room for them." The more the palace mistress spoke, the sadder she became, and her tears continued to flow down. Di Linhan was still fuming with rage when he saw that the palace mistress was crying. He immediately went numb. "Jean Say, I just wanted to give you a reminder to properly tidy up the rear hall. I didn't mean anything by it." "What do you mean by you didn't mean anything? You were so good to me in the past, but now that I've aged, you're angry at me." The palace mistress cried even more sadly. Di Linhan said in a fluster, Jin Sei, what do you mean by aged? In my heart, you are the most beautiful. Really? When the palace lord's wife heard Di Linhan say that, her tears turned into a smile. Di Linhan looked at the palace lord's wife's tearful smile and his eyes darkened. Of course it's true. Jin Sei, that little brat Bei Ming is getting more and more disobedient. Let's give him another little brother or sister. The lattice face immediately turned red and she spat, you shameless old man. Bei Ming is already so old, why would he still want a child? The outcome is not important. The process of my hard work is very important. Di Linhan said as he carried the lady up, and with a wave of his hand, a secret room appeared behind the bookshelf. After the two of them walked in, everything returned to normal. Di Baiming walked to the door of the study. Initially, he wanted to ask Di Linhan something, but he did not expect to hear the conversation between his shameless parents. His face turned red and he had no choice but to turn around and leave. After Yun Chuzhou finished dealing with Qin Mingzhu and Bei Li Yan, she returned to her own courtyard. As soon as she entered the house, she was embraced by Di Baiming. The two of them were naturally entangled. Although Di Baiming really wanted more, but because of Yun Chuzhi's physical condition, he had no choice but to endure it. Prince Charming, actually, something else happened in the Forbidden Land. The gas inside is different from outside. Xiao Hanio and the rest, Yun Chuzhou saw that Di Baiming was trying his best to restrain his desire and started to change the topic. Chapter 1244, Di Baiming, who had a misconception after hearing Yun Chuzhi's words. Di Baiming felt uneasy again. There were too many unimaginable things happening to little Jiu. Moreover, according to what she said, she had transmigrated from another world. Would she transmigrate back in the future? Yun Chuzhou saw that Di Baiming did not look too good and asked worriedly, Prince Charming, what's wrong? Are you worried that I brought the things from your forbidden land? Silly. Why would I feel bad for those things? Little Jiu, if I give you a chance to travel back in time, will you go back? Of course. Then I can see Chi. Yun Chuzhou said without hesitation. Di Baiming's face immediately darkened, and his eyes were full of hurt. Little Jiu, you actually. Di Baiming could not continue speaking. He slammed the door angrily and left. Yun Chuzhou looked at the originally sturdy door that was broken into several pieces. She was dumbfounded. Did she say something wrong? Why did this gigolo get sick again? He had not vented his anger with the door for a long time. Why was he fighting with the door again today? Yun Chuzhou was puzzled, but Di Baiming felt that he was not well. He was afraid that Yun Chuzhou would leave in the future, but he was also angry at Yun Chuzhi's heartlessness. Yun Chuzhou had no choice but to ask Manager Luo to change the door. Manager Luo was puzzled. Why would this little devil vent his anger on the door? For a few days, Yun Chuzhou did not see Di Baiming anymore. Even the palace master's wife and Di Linhan did not summon her anymore. It was as if they had left her here to fend for herself. Fuck. What were they doing? Could it really be that because she had taken a little bit of their Hun Dun's energy, this family did not bother with her anymore? What a stingy family. Just as Yun Chuzhou was feeling indignant, Di Baiming came. Yun Chuzhou saw Di Baiming's appearance. She was shocked. Prince Charming, what kind of blow did you take? Why did you become so haggard? Although this melancholic aura is quite seductive, my heart aches. Who bullied you? Tell me, it'll help you take revenge. Why did you drink? You didn't let me drink, but you actually drank. This is too much. Di Baiming smiled bitterly. Who bullied me? It's you, you heartless black thing bullying me. Am I not good to you? Why are you so heartless to leave me? Yun Chujio was confused. When did I leave you? Tianyuan Academy is about to start, of course I have to leave. Yes, I admit that I'm not strong enough to protect you from any harm. But every time you suffer, do you know how much I feel sorry for you? I wish that I was the one in danger and not you. Actually, I only need to trap you in the Temple of Immortals, and you won't be in any danger. Then we can always be together. But I know that that is not the life you want, so I let you go on your own. I just need to quietly protect you. But, why do you want to leave me? What I did not do well, you can tell me, why do you want to leave me? You have so many incredible things happened, even my master could not explain. Do you know how worried I was? How scared I was? I was afraid that I could not protect you, afraid that you leave me. I did not think that you are really heartless, not at all reluctant. I really do not have any position in your heart. Chapter 1245 You are a thorn in my heart. When Di Baiming finished speaking, he hugged Yun Chujio one last time. Yun Chujio was almost out of breath. Little Jiu, I will never let you leave. Unless you kill me, I will never let you leave me no matter what. Yun Chujio roared angrily, Gigolo. What's wrong with you? When did I say I'm leaving you? You came here to get drunk. Are you looking for a beating? Di Baiming heard Yun Chujio's angry roar. He also roared with red eyes. You still don't admit it? You were the one who said it yourself. If you could transmigrate, you would immediately transmigrate back. This isn't leaving me. If you went to another continent, I could still find you. But you've transmigrated to that bullshit modern era. Where can I find you? Yun Chujio was stunned by the roar. She finally understood why Di Baiming was making such a scene. It turned out to be a misunderstanding. Prince Charming, you've misunderstood my meaning. I thought you were asking me to give me a chance to transmigrate back. It's a round-trip ticket, but you actually meant a one-way ticket? What round-trip ticket, one-way ticket? You're still trying to quibble. You didn't even hesitate and directly said that you wanted to go back. Black Thing, you've really disappointed me. Prince Charming, you've really misunderstood. I thought that when you said transmigration, you could go or come back, just like returning to the Azure Mystic Continent to visit my grandfather. How could I bear to part with you? Besides, I also can't bear to part with grandfather and the others. Yun Chujio knew that Di Baiming had misunderstood. She patiently explained. Is what you said true? You're not lying to me? Then if you wear it back, you won't be able to return. Are you going to wear it? I'm not going to wear it. Are you absolutely sure? It really can't be any more true. If you don't believe me, I swear. Di Baiming did not say anything. He hugged Yun Chujio tightly once again. It's really good that the Black Thing won't leave me. After a long while, Di Baiming finally let go of Yun Chujio. His face was slightly unnatural, and the tipsiness had also dissipated a lot. Yun Chujio, this fellow, was not going to do it. She poked Di Baiming's forehead with her finger and started lecturing him. Pretty boy, how old are you? Ah. Don't you know how to tell me clearly if there's anything? You even learned to drown your sorrows with alcohol. Are you really that capable? Don't you have any confidence in me? You even said that you don't have any status in my heart. You don't have any status. You are the nail in my heart. How do you still want to have status? I'll dig out my heart for you to see. You have a long mouth just to eat. Wouldn't you have asked me at that time? Is it fun to hold it in? If you have something to say, just say it. If you don't say it, how will others know what you are thinking? Do you want me to guess? I don't have the time. Let me tell you, pretty boy, in the future, if you play the guessing game with me again, see how I'll deal with you. The palace master's wife had heard Manager Luo's report that Di Baiming had gone to Yun Chujio's courtyard drunk. She had rushed over in fear that something unexpected would happen. Unexpectedly, what she saw was Yun Chuzhou lecturing Di Baiming like a grandson. The palace master's wife almost clapped her hands in approval. What she said was absolutely right. This bastard had been quiet since he was young. The bigger he got, the more serious he became. He deserved to be scolded. This little rascal was really sharp-tongued. Only a little rascal like Bei Ming could cure him. Alas, it was a pity that he had a heavenly lightning spirit root. Thinking of this, the hall master's wife coughed twice and said, "Little ninth lass, come out. I have something to tell you." Chapter 1246 has been accepted by me as my master. Di Baiming and Yun Chuzhou never thought that there would still be people listening to the walls outside. The two of them were so angry that they didn't even notice. Now that they heard the voice of the hall master's wife, both Di Baiming and Yun Chuzhou felt a little embarrassed. However, Yun Chuzhou was a little more thick-skinned. She pinched Di Baiming's arm and left the room. Di Baiming was pinched until he grinned and then laughed. The pain meant that he was not dreaming. Little Jiu would never leave him. This was great. "Auntie, why didn't you come into the house when you came? Although my courtyard used to be quite shabby, it's still not bad after cleaning it up," Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. The palace mistress originally wanted to scold Yun Chuzhou, but when she heard Yun Chuzhou mention the courtyard, she couldn't help but feel a little guilty. She went straight to the point and said, "You've stayed in the Hall of Longevity for quite a long time already. Moreover, Tianyuan Academy is about to start. Manager Luo will send the three of you back to Tianyuan Academy tomorrow. You should get ready." "What? Leave tomorrow? Aunt, I really can't bear to part with you." The hall master's wife thought to herself, "Humph, what a nice thing to say, can't bear to part with me. You can't bear to part with that little brat, right? Aunt, in leaving now, don't you and uncle need to give me something?" Yun Chuzhou said shamelessly. "Give you something? You swept away all the things in the spaceship, and borrowed money from manager Luo to reward her. You also extorted 450,000 high-grade spirit stones, and went to the canteen to ask for help when you had nothing to do. The ingredients in the canteen, which could have been used for half a year, were destroyed in a few days by you. Also, the forest of spirit fruits was almost gone by you. What else do you want? If you really want to give it to me, I'll give you 4 words. Take care of yourself." The palace master's wife left angrily after saying that. She felt that if she did not leave now, she might be tricked by the little girl again. When that time came, she would be cheated of money again. Yun Chuzhou touched her nose and turned around to ask Di Baiming, "Prince Charming, why did your mother say that?" "I feel that I'm so greedy. I didn't take much food. I just took it according to my half a year's worth of food. Little Jiu, my mother has such a personality, don't take it to heart. If you still want them, they'll immediately arrange for someone to cook them for you." "That's not necessary, I'm not a greedy person." The corner of Di Baiming's eyes twitched. He had already taken half a year's worth of dishes, how could he still be greedy? "Little Jiu, after we go back, I'm afraid that Deputy Dean Ian and the others will make things difficult for you." "If they make things difficult for you, you can just retaliate. I'll take care of everything." "Oh right, Prince Charming, you still don't know, right? I have a new backer in the Tianyuan Academy. That dry old man is the dry old man that the library wanted me to copy books from. I've taken him in as my master. Haha, that old man is obviously very awesome. If Ian Haoyu wants to bully me, no way." Yun Chuzhou said smugly. "Taken in as your master. Why does it sound so awkward? Shouldn't he be the one being accepted as his disciple? Although Senior Jiang hasn't had much contact with him, his spiritual power is very high and he is quite mysterious. With him protecting you, it is naturally very good. However, he has a perverse personality, why would he accept you as his disciple? Di Biming asked, puzzled. Yun Chujiu told him everything, and also told him about the mid-year competition. Although Di Biming had solved the knot in his heart and knew that Yun Chujiu would not leave, when he heard that Yun Chujiu had taken in another remnant soul, the sense of crisis in his heart was even stronger. He kept feeling that these things seemed to be unrelated, in fact, they were all inextricably linked. He had to hurry up his cultivation and increase his strength. There were too many strange things that had happened to little Jiu. Moreover, the divine devil Hull might make a comeback. Only then could he protect little Jiu. Chapter 1247, Rambling boyfriend Di Biming chatted with Yun Chujiu for a while more, exhorting her repeatedly. In the end, he gave Yun Chujiu several concealment talismans and sudden rupture talismans. When Yun Chujiu heard Di Biming's repeated exhortations, there was only one feeling in her heart. Why did it feel like she didn't have a new boyfriend, but a new father? Ah, that's not right. It should be her mother who's nagging like this. If Di Biming, who was exhorting her, knew that Yun Chujiu was cursing in her heart, he would probably smack Yun Chujiu to death right away. The next day, before leaving, Yun Chujiu said shamelessly, "Auntie, uncle, remember to visit me often. I'll miss you guys. I'll come again during the holidays. And, tell the canteen to prepare more ingredients, it's better to be safe than sorry, how can they prepare so little?" Di Linhan's expression was still rather calm, and the lady of the palace lord pursed her lips, "You only know how to eat all day long. Go back and cultivate properly, and be more careful on the life and death arena. If you really die, what are you going to eat?" Yun Chujiu was already used to the lady of the palace lord's unique way of caring, and she grinned, "And, don't worry, the one who died must be that little bitch, Yin Xinlian." The palace master's wife coldly snorted and did not say anything. She waved her hand, indicating that she could leave. Only then did this fellow follow manager Luo to the entrance of the Palace of Immortals. Everyone boarded the flying spirit tool. Manager Luo was still in charge of taking care of their daily lives. There were also dozens of secret guards from the Palace of Immortals. Yun Chujiu boarded the flying spirit tool and took a look. She could not help but twitch her lips. She reckoned that the old witch was afraid that she would take the things away again, so she did not add anything. She was really stingy. 3 days later, the flying spirit tool arrived at the Tianyuan Academy. Manager Luo made some polite remarks and left with his people. Yun Chujiu greeted Qin Mingzhu and Bailey Yen and went straight back to the dormitory. After a simple wash, she went to see Feng Ming and the other two. Feng Ming and the other two had been cultivating in the Tianyuan Academy during the holidays and had already broken through to the 3rd level of the spirit sect. The reason why they had broken through so slowly before was because they had broken through too quickly in the Qingxian continent. They had been consolidating their foundations. Yun Chujiu gave them quite a number of spirit fruits and delicacies and then asked, "Is there anything new this month?" Feng Ming and the other two shook their heads. "I haven't heard anything new. Instead, many people are discussing the matter of you and Yin Xinlian going on the life and death arena." Originally, many people didn't think highly of you. However, ever since you passed the trial tower, a portion of them thought highly of you. Now, the people who thought highly of you and Yin Xinlian should be 50-50. Junior sister Xiaojiu, are you confident? Yun Chujiu smiled smugly. When have I ever done something that I'm not confident of? Since that little bitch Yin Xinlian is courting death, I'll fulfill her wish. Junior sister Xiaojiu, although you have many tricks up your sleeve, you must not underestimate your enemy, Shi Xian instructed. Yes, I understand. I will definitely be more careful. Yun Chujiu chatted with them for a while more before heading to the library to look for the dried-up old man. Unfortunately, she did not find anything. It was only then that the dried-up old man remembered that he had said that he would be in closed-door cultivation for 2 to 3 months, so she could only hop over to see Din Huangfu. After Yun Chuzhou saw Din Huangfu, she took out many spirit fruits and delicacies and gave them to Din Huangfu. "Din, this is a small token of my appreciation. Please accept it." When Din Huangfu heard Yun Chuzhi's words, the corners of his eyes twitched. "You seem to be doing quite well in the Palace of Immortals. Otherwise, you wouldn't have plundered so many things." Chapter 1248, The Life and Death Arena. Yun Chuzhou curled her lips. "Lord Din, look at your use of words. These were all given to me by my aunt and uncle, okay? They wished they could give me the entire Hall of Eternal Life, but I rejected them. I am still very self-aware." The corners of Din Huangfu's eyes twitched violently. "You are really shameless." Yun Chuzhou chatted with Din Huangfu for a while more before heading back to her dormitory. This fellow was thinking about the life and death arena as he hopped around. Just now, Din Huangfu had specially told her that any method could be used on the life and death arena: talismans, poisons, spirit beasts, formation discs, anything could be used. As the daughter of the Yin family head, not only did Yin Xinlian have many good things, she was also proficient in formations. It was likely that she would be very difficult to deal with when the time came. Yun Chuzhou calculated that there were less than 10 days left before she and Yin Xinlian's life and death arena. She had to hurry up and cultivate and strive to break through once more. Even if she could not catch up to Yin Xinlian, it would be fine to narrow the gap a little. Moreover, although she had many good things, many of them could not be seen in the light. Otherwise, it might attract the covetous eyes of others. Therefore, she had to think of a foolproof plan. 2 days later, Tianyuan Academy started its semester, and the academy returned to its usual lively scene. Yun Chuzhou had been training hard during her spare time. Unfortunately, things did not go as she wished. She did not break through again until the day before the competition, and her spiritual power stopped at the 8th level of the spirit sect. Yun Chuzhou felt that things were not good. It was said that Yin Xinlian, that little bitch, had already broken through to the 2nd level of the spirit saint realm. Although she had killed many demon beasts that were equivalent to spiritual venerables in the trial tower. But that was different. First of all, in the trial tower, she knew that she could not die, so she naturally acted without scruples. Second, no matter how smart those demon beasts were, they were still demon beasts. Yin Xinlian, that little bitch, was much smarter. Finally, in the trial tower, she could use all kinds of methods without scruples. On the life and death arena, she had a lot of scruples. Yun Chuzhou shook her head. Damn it, if it really didn't work out, she would use the sudden rupture talisman that the gigolo gave her and fight until both sides were injured. Anyway, she had the Guai Chao to cheat, so she would definitely be able to keep her life. The next afternoon, almost all the students who didn't have classes in Tianyuan Academy ran to Tianyuan Square, including Din Huangfu and the others. This was because the status of both sides on the life and death arena was special. Although they couldn't help each other. But they still had to see the process clearly. When the time came, when the relatives of one of the parties came to verify, they could also explain the process clearly. The time was set at the beginning of the afternoon. Yin Xinlian arrived just after noon, while Yun Chuzhou never showed up. When everyone recalled Yun Chuzhi's performance in the previous 2 competitions, they weren't anxious. They guessed that Yun Chuzhou was planning to come at the right time. As expected, when it was almost time, Yun Chuzhou walked over under the escort of the Huang class students. She looked like she was leading a group of generals. She looked valiant and valiant. If they were to compete, Yun Chuzhou would win. Yin Sulian snorted coldly and said, "She's just putting on a show to impress the public. My sister will definitely kill this bitch today." Immediately, Yin Sulian's lackeys echoed, "That's right. A second-level spirit sect cultivator who wants to defeat a second-level Holy Spirit realm senior Yin is simply wishful thinking. Yun Chujio is dead for sure. She still thinks that she's so amazing after passing the trial tower. HMPH, it's just because the weapon spirit went easy on her. I guess that in less than an hour, Yun Chujio will be slapped to death by Senior Yin. An hour? I think half an hour will be enough. Ha ha ha. Chapter 1249. I'll give you 3 moves on the stage. Yin Xinlian stared at Yun Chujio with a malicious gaze. Bitch, because of you, our Yin family lost 32 secret guards. Because of you, our Yin family lost 1/10 of our spirit stone mine share. Because of you. Eve offended the palace master's wife. Today, I must kill you. Yun Chujio slowly walked to the bottom of the life and death arena and jumped onto it. After the two of them got on the life and death arena, a layer of spiritual power covered the life and death arena. Only when both sides agreed to end the competition would the spiritual power cover be opened. Of course, if one side died, the other side could also open the spiritual power cover. Yin Xinlian didn't talk to Yun Chujio at all. She directly attacked Yun Chujio with her spiritual power. Yin Xinlian was practicing the middle-level physical transformation technique, and the physical transformation turned out to be a snake. It spat out its tongue and pounced on Yun Chujio. Io, what kind of spiritual power does a person turn into? TSK, people are vicious, and the spiritual power generated by the physical transformation is also so vicious. It's a perfect match. Yun Chujio said as she dodged Yin Xinlian's spiritual power attack. Yin Xinlian still didn't say anything and continued to attack Yun Chujio with her spiritual power. Yun Chujio dodged 3 moves before she started to fight back. She said with conviction, Yin Xinlian, although you are not kind, I cannot be unrighteous. On account that you are older than me, I will let you have 3 moves. Yin Xinlian shouted angrily, Yun Chujio. You are the one who is older. Yin Xinlian, since you admit that I am older than you, then do you have the ability to let me have 3 moves? In your dreams. Yin Xinlian did not continue to argue. She knew that Yun Chujio's mouth was very sharp. She could not be fooled, otherwise, she would be easily affected by Yun Chujio. However, Yun Chujio would not let her be so quiet. Her small mouth kept talking non-stop. TSK, you really are shameless. No wonder a third-year student actually went on the life and death arena with a little girl like me. What a bully. One of the 3 beauties of Tianyuan Academy. You are far inferior to senior sister Qin and senior sister Bai Li. It's fine if you don't look as good as them, but the most important thing is that you are wicked and shameless. But that's right. Your Yin family has a long history of learning, and that little bitch Yin Sulian is no good either. You two are a pair of shameless bastards. Yin Xinlian was so angry that her face turned red, and the attacks on her hands became even fiercer. However, Yun Chujio was like a slippery little loach, and she couldn't hurt her at all. Yin Xinlian gritted her teeth. Anyway, she could use any moves on the life and death arena, so why should she fight with her spiritual power attacks? Thinking of this, Yin Xinlian summoned a spiritual beast from her spiritual beast pouch. The onlookers couldn't help but exclaim. What Yin Xinlian summoned was actually a level 21 three-eyed lightning marten. A level 21 spiritual beast was equivalent to a cultivator of the 1st to 3rd level of the spirit saint realm. Yun Chujio had enough trouble dealing with Yin Xinlian alone. If this three-eyed lightning marten was added to the mix, Yun Chujio would definitely be finished. Although Yun Chujio was mentally prepared, when she saw that Yin Xinlian had actually created such a high-level spirit beast, she was still a little apprehensive. If she released the 3 dumb cuties, she would naturally be able to deal with this three-eyed lightning marten. However, she was afraid that it would attract trouble. Forget it, she would hold on for a while. If she really couldn't do it, she would talk about it later. Hence, Yun Chuzhou started to block the attacks of Yin Xinlian and the three-eyed lightning marten. Not long after, she was unable to block them. This fellow gave Yin Xinlian an evil smile, and Yin Xinlian's heart was shocked. What kind of evil scheme was Yun Chuzhou up to this time? Chapter 1250, Rogue Fighting Style. Yin Xinlian was on guard and once again attacked Yun Chuzhou with her spiritual power. Unexpectedly, Yun Chuzhou did not dodge at all. Instead, she aimed several purple needles at the three-eyed lightning marten's eyes. The people below the life and death arena could not help but cry out in surprise. Did this Yun Chuzhou want to die? Why didn't she dodge? Wasn't she courting death? Yin Xinlian's heart was filled with joy. Yun Chuzhou, did you suddenly lose your mind? Once this spiritual attack hit her body, she would lose at least half of her life. Unexpectedly, when Yin Xinlian's spiritual attack was about to reach Yun Chuzhou's body, it was blocked by a layer of spiritual energy barrier. Yin Xinlian was so angry that she gritted her teeth. She inexplicably recalled that last time, the palace master's wife's spiritual weapon had been taken away by Yun Chuzhou. There were many defensive spiritual weapons inside. However, I don't believe that you haven't used your defensive spiritual weapon all this time. I must kill you today. Therefore, the people below saw that Yin Xinlian kept attacking Yun Chuzhou, but was blocked by Yun Chuzhou's defensive spiritual weapon. As for Yun Chuzhou, she kept chasing after the three-eyed lightning marten. She specialized in attacking its eyes and other vulnerable spots. The three-eyed lightning marten was almost driven mad with anger. Those purple needles were very small, and a moment of carelessness would cause those purple needles to hit its vital points. Therefore, the three-eyed lightning marten stopped attacking and desperately dodged Yun Chuzhou's attacks. Therefore, the audience watched as the two people and one beast began to circle around the stage. Yun Chuzhou chased after the three-eyed lightning marten, while Yin Xinlian chased after Yun Chuzhou. Damn, this was the first time he had seen such a fight. No wonder Yun Chuzhou was always greedy. At such a critical moment, this defensive spirit tool was really useful. Only this guy could afford to use such a wasteful method. 15 minutes later, the three-eyed lightning ferret was careless and was shot into the left eye by Yun Chuzhou's small purple needle. After the small purple needle exploded, the three-eyed lightning ferret cried out continuously. Yin Xinlian had no choice but to put the three-eyed lightning ferret back into her spirit beast pouch and continue to attack Yun Chuzhou with her spiritual power. Yun Chuzhou followed the same pattern and did not defend at all. Instead, she attacked Yin Xinlian. Yin Xinlian panicked. She did not know how many defensive spirit tools this bitch had on her. If this went on, she would probably be injured by her. It seemed that she could only use her trump card. Yin Xinlian took out an array disc from her storage ring. After biting her index finger to lower the blood, the array disc began to activate. Yun Chuzhou immediately realized that she was in darkness. She knew that she had entered Yin Xinlian's array. She quickly activated several defensive spiritual artifacts on her body to prevent a sneak attack. At the same time, she took out the luminous pearl to illuminate the surroundings. Even with the luminous pearl's illumination, she could only see the surroundings within 10 feet. The distance was still gray. At this moment, several golden-backed mountain mandrakes with sharp claws and teeth pounced on Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chuzhou quickly used the purple needles to attack the golden-backed mountain mandrakeses and other vulnerable parts. Although the effect was good, the golden-backed mountain mandrakes kept appearing one after another. If Yun Chuzhou killed one batch, another batch would come. Yun Chuzhou frowned. This could not go on. In the end, she would be exhausted to death. She had to think of a way to break the formation. The fastest way to break the formation was to destroy the formation disk, but the formation disk was in Yin Xinlian's hands. How could she destroy the formation disk? Yun Chuzhou felt that she had too many things to learn. Previously, the gigolo told her not to bite off more than she could chew, but now it seemed that she had to have a strong overall strength. Otherwise, she would be too restricted. Chapter 1251 was extremely clever. Yin Xinlian looked at Yun Chuzhou struggling like a headless fly inside the array formation and felt very proud. Bitch, I will exhaust you to death even if I have to tire you out. The crowd below the life and death arena immediately exclaimed, this is the Yin family's blood sacrifice 7 kills array formation. It is one of the Yin family's most powerful attack arrays. I'm afraid Yun Chuzhou will have to answer for it. So this is the blood sacrifice 7 kills formation. I've heard that. I haven't seen it before. Yun Chuzhou is not bad. She has persisted for such a long time, but the Yin family still has a deep foundation. That's right. After Yun Chuzhou's defensive spirit tools are exhausted, I'm afraid she will die in the formation. Dean Huangfu was in a difficult position at this moment. Naturally, he couldn't just watch as Yun Chuzhou was killed by Yin Xinlian. Putting everything else aside, if Yun Chuzhou really died, whether it was His Excellency or young Master Wuji, even Elder Jiang had to tear down Tianyuan Academy. But as the Dean of Tianyuan Academy, he couldn't break the rules in public. What should he do? Just as Dean Huangfu was in a difficult position, his identity jade plate started to tremble. Dean Huangfu sent his spiritual sense into it. Ji Sha's voice came from inside, Dean, if Yun Chuzhou is no match for me, I will force the teacher in charge to close the spiritual energy shield. Please save Yun Chuzhou. Although Dean Huangfu felt that this method was not very good, after all, Ji Sha could only be fired after doing so. Therefore, Dean Huangfu replied to Ji Sha, let's wait and see for the time being. Don't be in a hurry to make a move. At this moment, Yun Chuzhou still had not thought of a way to break the formation. The golden-backed mountain mandrakes were still attacking Yun Chuzhou continuously. Just when Yun Chuzhou was frowning, she suddenly had a thought. This life and death arena had a spiritual energy barrier, and it had a height. Therefore, this formation could only be limited by the height of the spiritual energy barrier. As long as she thought of a way to raise it, she could touch the barrier of the formation. At that time, she could break the barrier and break the formation. Therefore, everyone was stunned to see Yun Chuzhou continuously throwing big rocks and big sacks. At first, everyone thought that Yun Chuzhou was using rocks and sacks to attack the golden-backed mountain mandrill. They thought to themselves, isn't this ridiculous? These things had no lethality to the golden-backed mountain mandrill at all. However, the crowd slowly realized that something was wrong. Yun Chuzhou's things did not hit the golden-backed mountain mandrill. Instead, they were scattered all over the place. The sacks and stones were scattered all over the place like artificial mountains. Yo, could it be that this Yun Chuzhou thinks that she won't live long, so she emptied out all the things in her storage ring? I don't think so. The things she threw out are all worthless. Maybe she threw out the worthless ones first before throwing out the valuable ones. Speaking of which, this blood sacrifice 7 kill array isn't that easy to break. It's basically impossible for her to live. Suddenly, someone exclaimed, look! What is Yun Chuzhou doing? Everyone looked up and saw Yun Chuzhou jumping onto the highest pile of miscellaneous items. Then, she shot out purple needles continuously, and the purple needles started to explode. Dean Huangfu praised her in his heart. This little girl was really smart. She threw those junk to find the barrier. If it was somewhere else, this method would definitely be useless. However, the life and death platform had a protective barrier of spiritual energy, and the maximum height of the formation could only be lower than the protective barrier. Therefore, the little girl actually found the barrier of the formation by piling up junk, however, could she break the barrier? Chapter 1252 Battle Needle. To break the enchantment, Yin Xinlian also discovered Yun Chujia's goal, and her heart tightened. This bitch was indeed cunning, to actually think of such a method. However, with just you, a second-level spirit sect master, you want to break the enchantment? No way. Yun Chujio was very confident, because the small purple needle was small in size, and it was subjected to a large force per unit area. Moreover, it could control the time of explosion. As long as she kept attacking one place, she would definitely be able to break the enchantment. Even if it was worse. She would use the sudden rupture talisman to blow it up. Although she would be slightly injured, it was still better than being trapped here. Things went even smoother than Yun Chujio had expected. The small purple needle was simply a battle needle that could break through the barrier. After it shot into the barrier, it exploded again. After a few rounds, a small hole was broken through the barrier. With the hole, it would be much easier to break through the barrier. In less than 15 minutes, Yun Chujio broke the barrier and broke out of the blood-sacrificed 7-kill array. While Yin Xinlian was still in shock, Yun Chujio had already attacked her. Several purple needles were aimed at her. Yin Xinlian also had some defensive spirit tools on her. After activating them, she dodged Yun Chujia's attack. However, she was also scared out of her wits. This bitch actually broke through the blood sacrifice 7-kill array. How hateful. Yin Xinlian activated her defensive spirit tool and prepared to activate the array disc again. Bitch, I don't believe that you will be able to hold on for long. The spirit stones on me are enough to tire you to death. Yun Chujio noticed Yin Xinlian's actions and could not help but raise her eyebrows. She could not allow her to activate the array disc again. Otherwise, she would die from exhaustion sooner or later. However, she activated her defensive spirit tool and was unable to break through it for the time being. What should she do? Yun Chujia's eyes darkened. This Yin Xinlian had to die. Chi was right. If she continued to make mistakes, she would be in trouble. She had to kill her today. Even if she had to pay a small price, it would be worth it. Yun Chujio gritted her teeth and took out a sudden rupture talisman from her storage ring. After activating it, she threw it at Yin Xinlian. At the same time, she quickly retreated and activated almost all of her defensive spirit tools. After a loud explosion, not only was the protective shield of the life and death arena shattered, but a huge crater was also created in the arena. The people below the arena were forced back a few steps by the huge shockwave. Everyone was stunned for a moment. What was going on? Sudden rupture talisman. Yun Chujio used sudden rupture talisman. Oh my god, is she planning to destroy both jade and stone? When she used the sudden rupture talisman, she had to be at least 300 feet away from the enemy. She was so close to Yin Xinlian. Even if Yin Xinlian died, she wouldn't be able to recover. I think she has been forced into a dead end by Yin Xinlian. If she doesn't use the sudden rupture talisman and Yin Xinlian activates the disc array again, she will definitely die. What you said makes sense. There has been no movement on the stage. Could it be that both of them have been killed by the explosion? Just as everyone was discussing, a person crawled out from the deep pit. It was Yun Chujio. Her face was charred black from the explosion and her body was covered in dust. She was in an extremely sorry state. The people from the Huang class could not help but cheer. The class monitor had won. Our class monitor had won. That Yin Xinlian must be dead. However, Deputy Dean Yin's lips curled into a cold smile. You guys think too little of our Yin family. Would the young miss of our Yin family die so easily? Xinlian had 2 defensive immortal artifacts on her. How could a sudden rupture talisman be enough to kill her? In her dreams. As expected, someone flew out from the deep pit on a sword. It was Yin Xinlian. Although she looked miserable, her injuries were much lighter than Yunchuji's. Chapter 1253, Stupid Fighting Style. The onlookers were shocked. They didn't expect that both of them were still alive. It was really surprising. It seemed that both of them had a lot of defensive spiritual artifacts on them. The instructor in charge of the competition once again activated the defensive array, indicating for the two of them to continue the competition. Yin Xinlian said viciously, "Bitch, you want to kill me with the sudden rupture talisman? In your dreams. You are throwing stones at your own feet. I just need to activate the array disk again. You are dead." Yin Xinlian took out the array board again as she spoke. Just as she was about to open it again, she heard Yunchujio say viciously, "Bitch, bitch, let's see who can withstand the explosion between us." Before Yin Xinlian could react to what Yunchujio meant, she realized that Yunchujio had thrown another sudden rupture talisman at her. Boom! After the loud sound, another huge pit appeared on the stage. The protective array that had just been opened was shattered again, and the people below the stage were forced to take a few steps back. Crazy. This Yunchujio is really crazy. She wants to perish together with Yin Xinlian. Yeah, it's a blessing that she could escape with a sudden rupture talisman. She actually activated another one. She really doesn't want to live anymore. She's fighting with a method of mutual destruction. She's really too valiant. This time, I reckon that both of them won't be able to survive. This is really a life and death stage. It's really too tragic. Unexpectedly, just as everyone was discussing, Yin Xinlian flew up from the deep pit on her sword. However, compared to the previous time, there were traces of blood at the corner of her mouth. It was obvious that she had suffered some serious injuries. Everyone realized that Yunchujio hadn't climbed out. Could it be that she had died inside? Yin Xinlian couldn't help but laugh hysterically. "Slut! You want to blow me up? The one who died was you. Ha ha ha." Dean Huangfu's head buzzed. It was over. The little girl was dead. Everything happened too quickly. He and Ji Sha didn't even have time to react. Unexpectedly, Yunchuji's arrogant voice came from the pit. "Yin Xinlian, open your dog eyes and see. I'm still alive. It's just that the scenery inside the pit is better. I just stayed a little longer." Following her voice, Yunchujio flew out on the chopping board. It was the first time that everyone saw a chopping board, and they were all dumbfounded. Damn, what was Yunchujio sitting on? A large chopping board? Dean Huangfu had seen chopping boards before, so he wasn't too surprised. What he was worried about now was whether Yunchujio had the confidence to win if the two of them continued like this. Yin Xinlian obviously had a powerful defensive spirit tool, which was very likely an immortal tool. Yunchujio had already used 2 burst talismans, so what else could she do? "Yunchujio, although you aren't dead, your injuries are much worse than mine. As long as I activate the array disk, you will die without a doubt. Fight with me." "You are courting death," Yin Xinlian said arrogantly. "Is that so? I know that you have something good on you and your defense is pretty good, but I don't believe that it can withstand the intensity of the explosion of the 2 sudden rupture talismans." Yunchujio said as she activated the 2 sudden rupture talismans together and threw them at Yin Xinlian. Crazy. Yunchujio was crazy. This was the thought of everyone, including Dean Huangfu. They all thought that Yunchujio was crazy. The 2 sudden rupture talismans were activated at the same time. Even though Yin Xinlian had an immortal artifact on her, after the 2 losses and the 2 sudden rupture talismans this time, she would definitely die. However, Yunchujio was also dead for sure. This was a method of mutual destruction. It was too stupid. Chapter 1254 was still full of nonsense before death. After two earth-shaking explosions, the entire arena ceased to exist, turning into a huge pit. The spectators were forced back dozens of steps by the shockwave. The arena was filled with black smoke, and everyone held their breaths. Would a miracle happen again? Were both of them alive or dead? Or was only one alive? Deputy Dean Yin clenched his fists tightly. Even if someone was alive, it would be Xinlian. After all, Xinlian had two defensive immortal artifacts on her. In the deep pit, Xinlian woke up first. Although she had suffered serious internal injuries, she was still alive with the protection of an immortal artifact. She swallowed a handful of pills and saw Yun Chujio lying not far away. She gritted her teeth. Bitch! You want to kill me? Although you are already dead, I still have to cut you into pieces to appease the hatred in my heart. Xinlian struggled to stand up, took out her sword and staggered to the side of Yun Chujio's corpse. She raised the sword and slashed at Yun Chujio. Unexpectedly, Yun Chujio's corpse rolled on the ground and avoided Xinlian's sword. Before Xinlian could react, Yun Chujio grabbed her ankle and threw her to the ground. At the same time, a large kitchen knife was pressed against her neck. You didn't die either. Xinlian blurted out in disbelief. Yun Chujio didn't pay any attention to her and directly slashed down. Xinlian was unwilling to die. Yun Chujio put away the large kitchen knife and wiped the blood from her mouth. Fuck, why are you still talking so much nonsense on the verge of death? If I answer you, what if something bad happens? Wouldn't all my efforts be wasted? I'm not that stupid. Yun Chujio swallowed a handful of heaven-grade blood coagulation pills and did not sit on the big kitchen board to fly up. This fellow was very shrewd. That old bastard, Deputy Dean Yin, might be waiting for her up there. She was extremely weak now, he would kill her if he was careless. She had better send a message to the dean first to ensure her safety before she went up. Ever since Yun Chujio was harmed by Dian Cui, her vigilance had increased. She had really guessed right. At this moment, Dean Huangfu and the others were surrounding the entrance of the pit. That was what Deputy Dean Yin had planned in his heart. If Xinlian was still alive, it would be fine if Yun Chujio was dead. If Xinlian was dead and that bitch Yun Chujio was still alive, he would just, accidentally, kill her. Huangfu Zhonghen wouldn't be able to do anything to him. After receiving Yun Chujio's voice transmission talisman, Dean Huangfu gave Deputy Dean Xiao a look. Deputy Dean Xiao said, "This pit is too deep. I can't see anything clearly inside. Let me go down and take a look." After saying that, Deputy Dean Xiao rode his sword and flew down. Although Deputy Dean Yin was so angry that he gritted his teeth, there was nothing he could do. He could only pray in his heart that Xinlian would be safe. As for that bitch Yun Chujio, she must have died. Unfortunately, things did not go as he wished. Not long after, Deputy Dean Xiao flew up. Behind him was a person sitting on the chopping board. Although he was in a sorry state and there were traces of blood on his face, his smile was very bright. Who else could it be but Yun Chujio? With Deputy Dean Xiao's protection, Deputy Dean Yin didn't have the chance to make a move even if he wanted to. He asked with a trembling voice, "Where's Xinlian?" "She's down there. Go and find her," Yun Chujio said with a smile. Deputy Dean Yin hurriedly rode his sword and flew down. Then, everyone heard Deputy Dean Yin's heart-wrenching cry of "Xinlian." Everyone naturally understood that Xinlian was probably dead. Not long after, Deputy Dean Yin flew up with Xinlian's body in his arms. Sulien and Xuecheng immediately burst into tears. Sulien gritted her teeth and said, "Yun Chujio, you killed my sister. We are irreconcilable enemies. Yun Chujio shrugged her shoulders and said, "You say that as if we had a good relationship in the past. This is the life and death arena. Isn't it normal for a dead person to die? If you want to take revenge, you should also get a challenge token. Let's meet on the life and death arena." Chapter 1255, Do Not Offend Yun Chujio. Yin Sulian was rendered speechless by Yun Chujio. How would she dare to go up the life and death arena with Yun Chujio now? She only glared at Yun Chujio viciously. "Yun Chujio, just you wait. Our Yin clan will not forgive you." "Won't forgive me? Yin Sulian, I will show you a clear path. If you want to kill me, you can either wait for me to graduate from the Tianyuan Academy or issue a challenge to me. We will go up the life and death arena. Otherwise, your Yin clan will suffer the wrath of the Temple of Immortals. Of course, your Yin clan is so awesome. If you are not afraid of the Temple of Immortals' revenge, you can come and assassinate me, poison me, and I will suffer. However, you want to kill me? Dream on. Even if all of you are dead, I will still be alive and well. I am very lucky." Yun Chujio said arrogantly. "Sulian, shut up." Deputy Dean Yin stopped Yin Sulian. Then, he glanced at Yun Chujio with a malicious look, as if he had been poisoned. Yun Chujio bared her teeth at him and hopped off the life and death arena. Surrounded by the Huang class students, she held her head high and puffed out her chest. Yes, she walked slowly towards the dormitory. Although this guy cheated with Guai Chao, the injuries on his body had not fully recovered, she could not leave even if she wanted to. Everyone looked at Yun Chujio's back and only had one thought in their mind. "Don't offend Yun Chujio, don't offend Yun Chujio, don't offend Yun Chujio," and repeat the important thing 3 times. This guy was really too brutal. This guy was really too brutal. This guy was really too perverted. How was that a competition? It was a competition of who could withstand the explosion. This was the first time they had seen a competition of who had tough skin and thick flesh. Damn it, that was a sudden rupture talisman. There were 4 of them, but she didn't die from the explosion. Moreover, she could still talk long and hard against Yin Sulian. This meant that even if she was injured, it wasn't too serious. Otherwise, how would she have the energy to fight with others? To sum it up, this person was a person who didn't care about her life. She was also full of evil thoughts. They must never provoke her in the future. After this life and death battle, Yun Chujio's reputation in the Tianyuan Academy became even more resounding. Although her cultivation base of the 2nd level of the spirit sect was still despised, she had become a unique existence. Although her spiritual power was low, no one was willing to provoke her easily. Yun Chujio was worried because her spiritual power had long been saturated, but she couldn't attract the heavenly lightning, so she was actually unable to break through in a short period of time. Could it be that the heavenly lightning had died from her anger? Why didn't it strike her? Yun Chujio had no choice but to come to Dean Huangfu to learn from him. She went straight to the point and explained her doubts. Dean Huangfu pondered for a moment. There is a level between the spirit sect and the spirit saint realm. Many people at the 9th level of the spirit sect have broken through many times before they can break through to the spirit saint realm. I reckon that you have also reached a bottleneck, so you can only wait for an opportunity. There is no good way. Hearing Dean Huangfu's words, Yun Chujio could only go back dejectedly. Opportunity? This was too mysterious. This was different from the last time. She lacked actual combat experience. All she needed to do was to go to the trial tower and fight. Where would she find this bullshit opportunity? Besides, she was in the Tianyuan Academy all day long. Where would she find an opportunity? Yun Chujio was depressed for less than half a day before she became lively once again. This fellow's self-regulation ability was extraordinarily strong. Since her spirit energy could not break through, then she would just play around with something fun. Didn't Old Man Ian, whom she picked up in the Crimson Cloud Valley last time, say that he was going to teach her the puppet technique? Then she would study this puppet first. This thing was similar to modern robots, with a total of 1,800 of them. At that time, whoever dared to provoke her would use the puppet army to kill him. Ha ha ha, it felt great just thinking about it, right? Chapter 1256 was useless. Yun Chujio first took out Old Man Ian's life puppet and the big coffin, then released Old Man Ian. Senior, didn't you say you would teach me the puppet technique? Teach me now. Yun Chujio said with full of expectation. Unexpectedly, Old Man Ian's eyes were fixed on her and he was talking nonsense. Yun Chujio was so angry that she almost fell to the ground. She had no choice but to put away the old man with the surname Ian's remnant soul, his life puppet, and the big coffin. Yun Chujio was so angry that she kept muttering, "Damn it! Why are all these things that I've collected so good-looking but useless? There's no need to mention the 3 ancestors in my dantian. Xiao Hanio and the other 2 are immortal beasts and exotic beasts, but each of them is more useless than the other. Not to mention those remnant souls. They will disappear as soon as they go outside. Otherwise, why would I guess the ancient characters? I can ask them and they will all know each other. There's also this old Ian. He goes crazy whenever he has nothing to do. It turns out that I'm just looking for something to do for myself. Not only can he not help me, but I also have to help them restore their souls. I also have to help them find their corpses. I'm simply looking for trouble for myself." Xiao Hanio was immediately unhappy. "Master, don't you feel guilty for saying this? The 3 of us have risked our lives with you, yet we received the evaluation of a good-for-nothing. Wah wah, this really makes the beast sad. We're all going to die." Yun Chujio touched her nose guiltily, then, she said angrily, "I'm trying to provoke you. I'm regretting that I didn't live up to my expectations. Your status is 10,000 times stronger than those coquettish beasts, but you're really too weak now. I'm very sad. That's why I'm encouraging you. You actually don't understand my good intentions. You've really disappointed me. If you're willing to die, then go to hell. In any case, the old beasts won't go and the new beasts won't come." Xiao Hanio was instantly dumbfounded. Master, don't be angry. I'm just saying. Well, work hard to cultivate in the future. This time, I'll reluctantly forgive all of you. Cultivate well. Yun Chujio pouted. Little brat, you still dare to question my authority. I'll kill you. Just when Yun Chujio was bored, the dry old man came out of seclusion. Yun Chujio immediately went to find him. Master! You finally came out of seclusion. I missed you so much. Yun Chujio said with a flattering look. The dry old man scolded her with a smile, "You little girl, what are you planning now? If you have something to say, just say it. If you have something to say, just say it. Master, can't you speak more elegantly? Seriously, I'm a delicate girl." Yun Chujio said shyly. The corner of the dry old man's eyes twitched violently. "Tell me, why are you looking for me? How is your research on the ancient characters coming along? And those books, how much do you understand?" "Master, I only guessed dozens of ancient characters in total. How can I understand those books?" Yun Chujio felt extremely regretful when she said this. Previously, in the cave where she found Old Man Ian, those remnant souls could move freely. I should have let them teach me the ancient characters, but at that time, I didn't want to get these. I really missed a good opportunity. Maybe I can ask Old Man Ian when he doesn't go crazy. Humph. Haven't you always thought of yourself as smart? Why did you only guess so much after such a long time? What a little trash. The dry old man said disdainfully. He seemed to be happy to attack Yunchujo. Humph. Master, are you belittling me or yourself by saying these words? You've only developed more than 50 words after so many years. I've developed more than 30 words in half a year. If I'm a little trash, won't you be an old trash? Yunchujo quickly jumped behind the bookshelf after she finished speaking. She was afraid that the dry old man would beat her up. The dry old man snorted angrily. Alright, cut the crap. Why are you looking for me? Chapter 1257, Stupid Puppet. Yunchujo giggled. Master, I can tell that you are knowledgeable. What are you best at? Teach me. The dry old man smiled proudly. I know a lot of things. However, I am best at the art of puppets. I was the one who refined the iron puppet during the Tianyuan Academy's test. Pfft. Master, you were the one who refined that stupid puppet? I wanted to learn a few moves from you, but it seems that I should just forget about it now. Yunchujo curled her lips and said. The old man was furious. What do you mean by stupid? The iron puppets that I refined are very powerful. How are they stupid? Che. You still don't admit it? The refined iron puppet you refined has a fatal flaw. It only attacks those who have spirit energy fluctuations. If those who don't have spirit energy fluctuations approach it, it won't react at all. However, Master, I still have to thank you. If it weren't for that trash puppet you refined, I wouldn't have been able to earn a few million high-grade spirit stones. Ha ha ha. The dry old man was stunned. Without a doubt, he had never considered such a problem before. However, he defended himself. HMPH. What you said makes sense, but how can there not be people with spiritual power in the Tianyuan continent? So, this isn't a problem. Before the dry old man could finish his words, he saw that there was no spiritual power fluctuation on Yunchujo's body. He stammered, how can this be? Don't be surprised, right? That's why I said that your broken thing isn't good enough. Moreover, each of them is extremely stupid. They don't even have their own judgment. I reckon that they can't even distinguish between friends and enemies. If I were to create a puppet, I would create a clever one. Not only would I be able to distinguish between friends and enemies, but I would also be able to find the weakness of the enemy's puppet. At that time, whoever dares to provoke me, I will let the puppet army kill them. Yunchujo said smugly. The dried-up old man laughed so hard that he fell back and forth. He almost cried from laughing. Little girl, aren't you afraid that the wind will hurt your tongue? If you have your own judgment, how can you still call yourself a puppet? Then you will become a spirit. Don't even think about it. Not to mention that kind of puppet, even those refined iron puppets that I refined, you wouldn't be able to make them without 10 or 8 years. Truly, a newborn calf is not afraid of a tiger. Yunchujo said unwillingly, Humph, don't look down on people. Sooner or later, I will refine that kind of clever puppet. The dry old man snorted coldly and said, You should learn the refined iron puppet first. You really have high standards but low experts. Before learning the puppet technique, you have to learn the talisman art first. Otherwise, it would be impossible to refine a puppet. Talisman technique. I haven't learned it yet. Then, let's start learning. Yunchujo inexplicably thought of the fire outside the Wuwei Tower. Back then, she used the corners of the talisman and dipped her finger in the blood of the demon beasts to draw the talisman. However, there was no reaction at that time, but it caused a fire in the middle of the night. Later, she didn't think about it carefully and just let it go. The dry old man first explained the basic knowledge of the talisman, then began to teach Yunchujiu the first-level fire talisman. After the dry old man calmly finished drawing a flame talisman. With a sullen face, he said, "Go back and practice diligently. You will succeed after practicing it 1,800 times. You can't use tricks to learn this talisman. Don't dream of becoming a fat man in one bite. No one can succeed after practicing it for dozens of times." The dry old man was so surprised that he couldn't even speak properly. He saw Yunchujiu pick up the talisman pen and dip it in the blood of the demon beast. She finished drawing a flame talisman in just a few strokes. Moreover, it was a high-grade flame talisman. Chapter 1258 might be a bit of a blow to you. After the dry old man was stunned, he could not help but shout angrily, "You bastard! Since you've learned the talisman technique, why are you still saying that you haven't learned it? Are you trying to play with me?" Yunchujiu spread her hands innocently, "I really haven't learned it. I was just looking at this thing for fun and drew it a few times. Who knew that this thing was so simple? I succeeded in drawing it today. If I had known earlier, I would have drawn more. It's so convenient to attack people with this thing. It's just that talisman seals are banned in many places. It's a pity." The dry old man stared at Yunchujiu, wanting to see if what she said was true. Yunchujiu had a magnanimous expression. "Master, I know that my heaven-defying talent may be a little discouraging to you, but there's nothing I can do. Who asked me to be such a genius and such a pervert? Humph. I don't believe it. You must be lying. I'll teach you how to draw the explosive talisman now. If you can still draw it, then even if what you said is true." "What do you mean by that?" "Every word I said is true. It's the truth," Yunchujiu said rather smugly. The dry old man demonstrated the drawing method of the explosive talisman. Then, he handed the talisman brush to Yunchujiu. Yunchujiu drew a piece of the explosive talisman according to the old man's drawing. With a whoosh, the talisman paper burned up. It was obvious that she had failed. Yunchujiu laughed dryly. "It's inevitable for geniuses to fail. I was just practicing the first time. I will definitely succeed the second time." The old man did not mock her. He could see that it was really Yunchujiu's first time drawing the explosive talisman. Because the technique was very unfamiliar, it was obvious that she was drawing according to her own pattern. Could it be that she was not lying? Did she really not learn talisman before? At this time, Yunchujiu had already started drawing the second time. It was obvious that she was much more proficient than the first time. Moreover, she did not look at the old man's talisman at all. She had actually memorized the complicated talisman pattern. The old man was so shocked that his eyes were wide open. Previously, he knew that Yunchujiu had a photographic memory. However, the talisman was so tortuous and did not have any curves of memory points. How could she still have a photographic memory? It could only be described as a monster. Just as the old man was distracted, he heard Yunchujiu clapping her hands and saying, "Master, I've completed it. What do you think?" The old man looked at the explosive talisman on the table and was so excited that he was trembling. Even his eyes were red. "Oh God, I've been living on my last breath for so many years. Could it be that it was to take in this genius disciple? Perhaps with this little girl, what I thought was impossible can really be achieved." Yunchujiu saw that the old man did not speak and thought that there was something wrong with her drawing. After looking carefully, there was no difference between her drawing and the old man's drawing. "All right, let's draw another one." Therefore, this guy picked up the talisman pen and drew another one. The spiritual power used in this one was even more uniform. After drawing it, she found that the finished explosive talisman was shining with a faint golden light. He couldn't help but giggle. Master, look, why did the talisman I drew mutate? It's actually shining. It looks very cool. The dry old man was immersed in his own thoughts and was interrupted by Yunchujia's shout. He couldn't help but feel a little angry. What nonsense are you talking about? What's shining? The old man picked up the talisman on the table. His hands were trembling slightly and he was so excited that he could not say a word. Yunchujio frowned. Could it be that the old man's old illness had not been cured and left behind sequelae? Why was he trembling all of a sudden? Chapter 1259, Absolute Genius, Transcendent Grade. Transcendent Grade. This is a Transcendent Grade Talisman Seal. You drew a Transcendent Grade Talisman Seal on your third try. My precious disciple. You really are my precious disciple. If it wasn't for the fact that Yunchujio was a girl, the dried-up old man would probably hug Yunchujio and kiss her to express his excitement. Yunchujio shuddered at the words of the dried-up old man's precious disciple. Master, transcendent grade it is. Why are you so excited? Isn't it normal for a genius like me to draw a transcendent grade talisman? The corner of the old man's mouth twitched and he decided to restrain his excitement. This brat was already so cocky even if he didn't praise her. If he praised her a few more times, she would be able to fly to the sky. Yes, I was indeed a little excited just now. Actually, it's nothing much. It's just a transcendent grade talisman. It'll teach you some talismans that can be drawn at the spirit sect level. The old man tried his best to appear calm. Yunchujio said leisurely from the side, Master, your talisman brush is upside down. Only then did the dry old man realize that his hand was dipped in the demon beast blood. He forced himself to remain calm and said, HMPH. I want to test the purity of these demon beast blood. Yunchujio curled her lips and did not point it out. She continued to learn talisman drawing from the dry old man. The dry old man felt that it was not a good thing to have such a heaven-defying disciple. This was because he could not show off his master's prowess at all. He knew how to draw talismans as soon as he taught them. Ah, where should he put his old face? Back then, he was also known as a genius, but he was not that perverted. Not only did she know how to draw talismans as soon as she learned them, she could draw a transcendent grade talisman twice. Was she still human? She was a monster. In just one afternoon, the dry old man realized that he had nothing left to teach about talismans. The remaining talismans could only be drawn by those above the level of a spirit saint. Master, didn't you say that this talisman seal was extremely difficult? I feel that it isn't as difficult as drawing your portrait. If I had known this would happen, I would have learned how to draw talismans a long time ago. Sigh, how many spirit stones did I lose? Yunchujio felt that her thunder sect could only sell medicinal pills. In the future, she could sell talismans. Yes, the next time she rested, she would ask Anfeng to send her talismans to the thunder sect to be sold. Hearing Yunchujio's words, the dry old man opened his mouth, he gritted his teeth. Humph. What's the big deal? Talismans are no different from painting. If you know how to draw, it's easy for you to learn talismans. Go back and strengthen your foundation. It'll teach you how to refine refined iron puppets in a few days. Yunchujio curled her lips and said, Master, according to what you said, those who know how to draw can become talisman masters, right? Don't argue with me. I still have things to do. Get lost, get lost. The dry old man said with a stern look. Yunchujio pursed her lips and left. When the dry old man couldn't see Yunchujio, he laughed so hard that tears came out. A genius. She was definitely a genius. They never thought that he would pick up such a precious disciple. Although her spiritual power was still very weak, she would definitely be a heaven-defying existence in the future. Yun Chujio returned to her courtyard and sent a voice transmission talisman to Enfeng. Little lunatic, help me prepare 10 sacks of talisman paper and dozens of talisman pens. Enfeng, who had received the voice transmission talisman, was dumbfounded. Why did Miss Chiu always insist on getting the things she wanted? In the past, it was still reasonable to ask for those things, but what did she mean by asking for 10 sacks of talisman paper this time? Could it be that she had started learning talisman? Was she planning to practice? If she was planning to practice, it was understandable. After all, learning talisman was not that easy, and it did require a lot of talisman paper. But what the hell were dozens of talisman's pens? Could it be that if you practiced drawing talismans, you could waste dozens of talisman's pens? Were you eating pens? Chapter 1260. What I saw was a fake talisman. And Enfeng grumbled, but when Yun Chujio was resting, he still sent someone to deliver the talisman paper and brush that Yun Chujio needed to Yun Chujio. Then, Enfeng received Yun Chujio's voice transmission talisman again. Little lunatic, get me a few more sacks, no, dozens of sacks of talisman paper. Next time, he'll go to Changfengyan to get them. Remember to send a secret guard to protect me. The Yin family is itching to kill me right now. Enfeng was dumbfounded. Why did Miss Chiu still need talisman papers? Didn't she already send 10 sacks to her? And dozens of sacks. What was she trying to do? Although Enfeng was puzzled, he quickly went to search for a few grocery stores and finally gathered dozens of sacks of talisman papers. After half a month, Yun Chujio hopped to the Long Wind Inn. Little lunatic. Arrange for someone to help me send these talisman papers to the Thunder sect. Enfeng looked at the sacks of things on the ground and was stunned. Miss Chiu, these are talisman papers. Are you kidding me? Yun Chujio curled her lips. Why would I tease you? If you don't believe me, take a look for yourself. Enfeng opened a gunny sack with doubt. It was filled with burst talismans, and they were all high grade. He opened another gunny sack and saw that it was filled with talismans shining with golden light. He was so scared that he sat on the ground. Super grade burst talismans. Yeah, I'm afraid that super grade talismans aren't easy to sell. Besides, it said that rare goods can be bought, so I purposely drew a bad one. That's why I only made a gunny sack of super grade talismans. The rest are all high grade talismans. Although they're a little bad, I can still make do with them. Enfeng felt as if his worldview had been refreshed once again. Since when did high-grade talismans become bad? Since when could supreme-grade talismans be stored in sacks? Oh my god, were all the talismans he saw fake? Little madman, don't just stand there. Hurry up and give me those sacks of talismans. I've decided to use my free time to draw supreme-grade exploding talismans. Fuck, whoever dares to provoke me, I'll directly blow them to pieces. Yun Chujio said with a smile. Enfeng, on the other hand, shivered. The last time when Yun Chujio and Yin Xinlian were on the life and death arena, Di Baiming had brought him and an Yin along. He had once activated the concealment talisman to watch from afar. Of course, Yun Chujio did not know about all of this. Di Baiming's actions could be said to be taking a huge risk. Once the higher-ups of Tianyuan Academy discovered it, it would affect the reputation of the Hall of Immortals. However, how could Di Baiming be at ease with Yun Chujio? Therefore, he still brought Enfeng and an Yin to observe from afar. Fortunately, the attention of everyone in Tianyuan Academy was on the life and death arena, so they were really not discovered. Di Baiming wanted to make a move a few times, but when he saw that Yun Chujio's chest was full, he held it in. Enfeng felt a chill run down his spine as he watched. Damn, ninth miss was too intrepid. But now, Anfeng realized that he had still underestimated Yun Chujia's intrepid character. Although the level of the sudden rupture talisman was much higher than the explosive talisman, these dozens of sacks of super-grade explosive talismans could not be withstood even by a supreme being. If anyone provoked Miss Jiu, it would be courting death and self-torture. Wait a minute, he seemed to have forgotten a very crucial question. Miss Jiu, you said that these talismans were all drawn by you. Yes. It's very simple. It's much simpler than drawing. There's no need to consider the composition, color matching, and just drawing step by step. This thing is actually sold at such a high price. It's really profiteering. If I had known that this thing was so simple, I wouldn't have sold the pills. The cost of the pills is much higher than this. Chapter 1261, Man and Man cannot be compared, and Feng did not even have the strength to complain. Simple. Do you know how many people have studied for decades but still could not draw a successful explosive talisman? Not to mention a super-grade one. And Feng deeply felt that Man and Man could not be compared. After beating Anfeng, Yun Chujiu hopped back to Tianyuan Academy. At the same time, Yin Haoyu also received a voice transmission talisman from his subordinate. Fourth Elder, Yun Chujiu has been secretly protected by the secret guards of the Temple of Immortals along the way. We didn't have the chance to attack her. Yin Haoyu gnashed his teeth in hatred. This wretched girl was really cunning. Moreover, he didn't expect the Temple of Immortals to attach so much importance to this wretched girl. They actually sent a secret guard to escort her. It seemed that he could only think of a way to kill her in Tianyuan Academy. However, this matter had to be carefully planned. He had to strive for a hit and run. On this day, the dry old man finally agreed to teach Yun Chujiu how to refine the refined iron puppet. When Yun Chujiu heard the dry old man's steps, her mouth twitched. Master, you actually still want to use a furnace to refine it? Isn't this almost the same as refining a weapon? You can't use wood to carve it, right? You lazy thing. Can wood be harder than refined iron? Besides, can you use a spirit weapon if you don't refine it? A puppet can. As long as you put spirit stones on it, it can attack the enemy. But, Master, why do I feel that this puppet of yours doesn't even know its master? It can only attack people in a fixed area. The dry old man roared, so what if it attacks people in a fixed area? Do you want to learn or not? If you don't, then get lost. Master, why are you so stingy? Can't I tell you what I think? Show me, and they'll learn. Yun Chujiu saw that she had angered the old man, so she quickly smoothed her hair. Only then did the old man angrily start to refine the refined iron puppet. Yun Chujiu yawned as she watched. It was really troublesome to make the refined iron puppet. First, the refined iron had to be melted into molten iron, then, it was poured into the pre-made mold. After the liquid refined iron cooled down, it had to be hammered continuously. Finally, the corresponding runes had to be drawn on the various parts of the puppet. All the runes were finally gathered in the abdomen of the puppet through the connecting runes. It could place several spirit stones inside, which was also the spiritual power of the puppet. Master, this thing is similar to the formation disc. Why don't you just design something like a formation disc and put it in the abdomen of the puppet? That would be so simple. The old man was stunned. That's right, there were formation leaves on the formation disc. Weren't the various parts of the puppet similar to the formation leaves? The old man was stunned for a long time, then he excitedly danced. That's right. What the little girl said made sense. If he could develop it, it would be a great innovation in the puppet technique. If it was successful, the production time of the puppet technique would be greatly shortened. The more the old man thought about it, the more excited he became. He said to Yun Chujio, "What you said makes sense. You go back first. I'll be in closed-door cultivation for 2 months. I'll definitely be able to develop it." Yun Chujio touched her nose. It turned out that her nonsense had hit the nail on the head. However, using fine iron to make a puppet was too strenuous. It would be great if it could be casually carved with wood. Although the dry old man said that the wood was not strong enough, she could add protective runes. Forget it, it was better to wait for the dry old man to develop it. It was better for her to draw more explosive runes. That old thing Yin Haoyu had not been making any movements recently. He might not be planning some big move. It was better for her to make some preparations. Chapter 1262, Lazy Yun Chujio. Another month passed. On this day, all the freshmen received a mission, to weed the herb garden. Yun Chujio pursed her lips. This was a blatant exploitation of their free labor. There were many rare herbs planted in the herb garden of Tianyuan Academy. Therefore, before these students entered, they were sternly warned that if the spirit herbs were damaged, not only would they have to be compensated according to the price, but they would also have to be punished by the Academy's rules. After entering, the others diligently pulled the weeds. Yun Chujio, this fellow, was the most lazy. She squatted there for half a day and did not even pull out a few weeds. It was purely because she did not put in any effort. Moreover, the Guai Chao in her dantian kept clamoring to eat the spirit herbs. Yun Chujio angrily scolded, "Go Weiba, stop it. Just because of you, I might not even be able to give birth to a monkey for a gigolo. You still want to eat? Eat your head." Guai Chao immediately became dispirited after being scolded by Yun Chujio. It felt so wrong that it did not want to torture it anymore. "That student who is squatting there, yes, it's you. Come over here." A teacher stretched his neck and shouted at Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio could not help but curse in her heart. Seriously, she was discovered just when she was slacking off. Why was she staring at her for no reason? Yun Chujio slowly walked to the front of the teacher pointed to a place and said, "You are in charge of removing the weeds next to the spirit herb. You must be careful. That is a low-grade heaven-tier gold thread jade bamboo. If it is damaged, you can wait to be fired." Yun Chujio inexplicably smelled the scent of a conspiracy. Why did he only ask her to remove the weeds there? It must be a trap. She heard that the person in charge of this medicinal garden was also the lackey of that old guy, Yin Haoyu. Humph, she would not fall for it. "Io. Io. My stomach hurts. Teacher, I suddenly have an unbearable pain in my stomach. Where's the toilet? I want to go to the toilet." Yun Chujio clutched her stomach and cried out in pain. The teacher frowned. "The toilet is in the west, far from here. What a coincidence. I just asked you to do some work, and your stomach hurts. You're not faking it, right?" No, I'm going to die of pain." Yun Chujio was afraid that the teacher would ask again, so she jogged all the way to the west. The teacher sneered. As expected by Deputy Dean Yin, this girl was indeed cunning. However, what you didn't know was that this was a series of traps. You didn't fall into the trap of weeding. There were other traps waiting for you. Damn girl, this time you will definitely die. Yun Chujio ran all the way to the west and saw the toilet from afar. Of course, she wouldn't really go in. She rolled her eyes and decided to rest in the vicinity for a while. She would wait until everyone was almost done with their work before going out. Just as Yun Chujio was thinking about it, her scalp suddenly went numb and she was shocked. There was danger. Yun Chujio activated the jade token that the old man had given her. She did not want to use it the last time she competed with Yin Xinlian. She was prepared to use it when she was in a life-or-death situation. Yun Chuzhou had just activated the Jade token when she felt a spiritual energy fluctuation behind her. She quickly leaped forward. Even so, she did not manage to dodge all of it. Fortunately, the Jade token blocked the attack with a flash of light. Yun Chuzhou immediately understood that this was a series of tricks. Since she had been lured here, it was likely that there was more than one person lying in ambush. Sure enough, 3 masked men in black launched another attack at Yun Chuzhou. Although Yun Chuzhou could not see through the cultivation levels of the 3 people, it seemed that they were at least at the level of a spiritual venerable. They were probably sent by the Yin family. Chapter 1263 was useless. Yun Chuzhou tried to use her identity Jade token to inform Feng Ming, but to her surprise, she found that she could not send the message. She also tried to use a voice transmission talisman to inform An Feng but failed. Stupid girl, you don't have to waste your efforts. Since we have arranged this trap, it is naturally foolproof. Don't even think about sending the message. Moreover, there are very few people here. No one will come to save you. Prepare to die. One of the masked men said with a sneer. Yun Chuzhou's eyes darkened. Damn it, you want to kill me? Dream on. I'll blow you all up. Yun Chuzhou took out a few super-grade explosive talismans and was ready to activate them. However, she sadly realized that she couldn't activate them at all. That's right, even the sound transmission talismans weren't effective, which meant that there must be some kind of formation here. Naturally, talismans couldn't be used. Seeing this, the 3 of them laughed out loud. Stinky girl, we know that you have the sudden explosive talismans, but it's useless here. Even the gods can't save you today. Die. Yun Chuzhou could not care less about exposing her secret anymore. Her life was more important. Therefore, she summoned 8 flying swords to protect herself. Furthermore, the small purple needles were fired at the 3 of them frequently. The 3 masked men were shocked. This stupid girl was really strange. She could actually command 8 flying swords at the same time. However, no matter how strange it was, she would die here today. Yun Chuzhou secretly cried out in her heart. Although there were still Xiao Hanio and the others, the difference in their spiritual power was too great. Even if they came out, it would be useless. They might even get injured. What should she do? Yun Chuzhou tried to use the Jade token and the defensive spiritual tool to protect her body. Then, she forcefully broke through the encirclement of the 3 people and quickly ran to the east. However, she was blocked by an invisible barrier. Stinky girl, you want to run? This place is like an iron wall. It's a cage specially designed for you. You want to run? Dream on. The 3 men in black said arrogantly, although this little girl had so many defensive spirit tools on her that it made people and gods angry, she would run out sooner or later. When that time came, this stinky girl would die. Yun Chuzhou didn't believe it and ran to the south again. She was still blocked by the barrier, so she ran to the north again. However, she still couldn't get out, so she finally ran to the west. It's useless. Little girl, this formation is foolproof. You can't get out even if you go underground. The masked man laughed strangely like a cat catching a mouse. However, something unexpected happened. Yun Chuzhou actually broke through the barrier and disappeared in front of them. No. Impossible. What's going on? Didn't we test it before? This formation is foolproof. How did she get out? The 3 masked men quickly chased after her, but they were blocked by the barrier. How could this be? Let's hurry and send a message to 4th Elder. Maybe he can find the reason. The three of them put away the formation disc and activated the concealment talisman. One of them quickly sent a message to Yin Haoyu. Yin Haoyu was anxiously waiting for the news. He felt that this time, there would definitely be no mistakes. Yun Chujiu, that wretched girl, was very smart. She would definitely find an excuse to avoid weeding. When the time came, the hidden guards that had been arranged beforehand would come in handy. This time, it was the three leaders of the Yin family's hidden guards. Killing Yun Chujiu, who was at the second level of the spirit sect, was as easy as flipping one's hand. There was no possibility of failure at all. When Yin Haoyu heard the black-clothed man's message, he was so angry that he smashed the desk with his palm. Trash! Trash! He could let that bitch escape just like that. They were all idiots. Chapter 1264 might have entered the forbidden area by mistake. After venting his anger, Deputy Dean Yin inquired in detail about what had happened. Fourth Elder, we had clearly tested her. For some unknown reason, Yun Chujiu rushed out from the west side. Moreover, we didn't find any traces of her. This. What on earth is going on? Deputy Dean Yin was so angry that he wanted to bang his head against the wall. How the hell would he know what was going on? However, wait a moment. The west side of the Spirit Herb Garden seemed to have been one of the forbidden grounds of the Tianyuan Academy a long time ago. However, nothing happened after that and the stone tablet in the forbidden grounds was removed. Could it be that Yun Chujiu had unintentionally entered the forbidden grounds? It should be like this. However, the forbidden grounds were all extremely dangerous. If she were to enter the forbidden grounds, she would definitely lose her life. I reckon that Yun Chujiu entered the forbidden area by mistake. After all of you have cleaned up the traces, quickly leave. Teacher Su will not hold those students back for too long. When evening comes, someone will discover that Yun Chujiu has disappeared. Yes. The black-robed man followed Deputy Dean Yin's instructions and cleaned up the traces of the fight. Then, he escaped through the gap in the Tianyuan Academy's protective array. Although Feng Ming and the other two discovered that Yun Chujiu had not returned, they understood Yun Chujiu's personality. They reckoned that she had gone to slack off, so no one mentioned it. However, when it was sunset, Feng Ming and the others realized that Yun Chujiu had not returned. They panicked and hurriedly reported to Teacher Su, "Teacher, junior sister Little Jiu has not returned. Could something have happened? Humph. This Yun Chujiu must be slacking off. Send her a message and tell her to come back quickly." Teacher Su said disdainfully. Feng Ming quickly sent a message to Yun Chujiu but found that it was not successful. He became even more anxious. "Teacher Su, this message can't be sent. Something must have happened to junior sister Little Jiu." Teacher Su also pretended to be anxious at this time. "Quick. Everyone split up and search." Everyone searched for a while, but naturally, they did not find anything. Moreover, this search had even covered up the traces of the black-clothed man that had not been cleaned up. Dean Huanfu and the others had also rushed over when they heard the news. After asking Instructor Su about what had happened, they were all frowning. A living person had disappeared just like that. How was this possible? Deputy Dean Xiao suddenly frowned. "Dean, do you still remember that this grassland was a forbidden area thousands of years ago?" However, it had been safe and sound since then, so the sign of the forbidden area was removed. Could it be that Yun Chujiu had entered the forbidden area by mistake? Dean Huanfu was taken aback, and then he sighed. "What you said is very likely. If that's really the case, I'm afraid that Yun Chujiu is doomed." Everyone remained silent. The Tianyuan Academy had existed for more than 10,000 years. It was said that at the very beginning, there were a total of 10 forbidden areas in the Tianyuan Academy. However, after that, there were some forbidden areas that didn't have any abnormalities, hence, they were no longer included in the list of forbidden grounds. However, they didn't expect that the forbidden grounds that hadn't been activated for thousands of years would actually be activated by Yun Chuzhou this time. It was likely that they would only have a slim chance of survival. Although Dean Huangfu suspected that Deputy Dean Yin was involved, he didn't manage to find any clues. Furthermore, Yun Chuzhou was the one who took the initiative to come here to use the latrine. She couldn't be blamed on Teacher Su, so he could only let it go. Dean Huangfu couldn't help but sigh in his heart. This Yun Chuzhou really didn't stop. Elder Jiang was in closed-door cultivation, or else he would definitely cause a ruckus. There was also His Excellency and young Master Wuji. Just thinking about it gave him a headache. Chapter 1265 Plants. At this moment, Yun Chuzhou was staring at the towering tomb in front of her in a daze. At that time, she was only focused on escaping and was trying her best to knock into the western barrier. Unexpectedly, there was a flash of white light in front of her eyes. When she opened her eyes again, she was already in front of a huge tomb. This was an extremely majestic tomb. There were complicated Sanskrit inscriptions engraved on the tomb door. Yun Chuzhou looked around for a long time but could not find a way out. She gritted her teeth. It seemed that she could only break into this huge tomb. Perhaps she could find a way out. Yun Chuzhou activated her defensive spirit tool and pushed the tomb door with extreme vigilance. She did not expect that the tomb door would be pushed open so easily. Yun Chuzhou still did not dare to be careless. She carefully looked inside, and this fellow suddenly became starry-eyed. Fuck! Is this a treasure trove? How can there be so many good things? The big tomb was filled with spirit tools and spirit tools. The light was so dazzling that it was almost impossible to open one's eyes. Just as Yun Chuzhou was about to take it, the black bead in her dantian trembled. Yun Chuzhou felt pain and immediately woke up. Fuck! She almost fell into the trap. How could there be such a good thing? It must be a trap. Thinking of this, Yun Chuzhou walked along the narrow tomb path without looking away. After Yun Chuzhou walked past the tomb path, she looked back and was so scared that she almost fell to the ground. She saw that there were no spirit tools or qi ling beside her. There were clearly piles of white bones, some of which were human and some of which were demonic beasts. Moreover, many of them were still in their deathbed positions. From the looks of it, they were either taking things, or they were eating spirit herbs. They were probably lost in the illusion and died. Glass ball, it seems that you are not completely useless. Since you have reminded me of the danger several times, I will scold you fewer times in the future. The black bead shook in disdain. Idiot! Yun Chuzhou rolled her eyes. Although the black bead could not speak, the contempt she felt was completely exposed. Fuck, you're just a broken bead, yet you're still looking down on her. You're really shameless. After Yun Chuzhou finished scolding the black bead, she continued to walk forward. The tomb path was very narrow and long. Yun Chuzhou walked for nearly an hour before the front suddenly opened up. It was actually a large hall, whether it was the stone slabs on the ground or the surrounding walls, they were all meticulously carved. The furnishings inside were also very exquisite. TSK, I wonder who the owner of this tomb is. What a waste. He actually built such a luxurious hall. This time, Yun Chuzhou learned her lesson. She did not dare to touch the things inside carelessly. Instead, she carefully looked at the murals carved on the wall. The murals were carved with some strange flowers and plants. Yun Chuzhou recognized some of them, but she did not recognize most of them. They were probably ancient herbs. It seemed that the owner of the murals was also an ancient person. Just when Yun Chujio was engrossed in looking at the murals, she suddenly heard rustling sounds. Yun Chujio could not help but become nervous. Then, to her horror, she discovered that the strange flowers and plants on the wall had actually broken out of the wall, and they began to attack Yun Chujio. The attacks of these demonic plants were different from those of demonic beasts. Some attacked with branches, some sprayed poisonous juices, some attacked with exploding seeds, and some directly opened their huge petals to swallow Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio only had one feeling right now. Was she intruding into the scene of plants fighting against zombies? Damn it, she didn't look like a zombie that had been beaten to pieces. Chapter 1266, Eating at the first sign of disagreement. Yun Chujio had no choice but to use the 8 immortal swords to protect herself first. Then, she directed the small purple needles to attack the demonic plants. Needless to say, the small purple needles were very effective against the demonic plants. The demonic plants were much weaker than the demonic beasts. As long as the small purple needles pierced into the body of the demonic plants, once they exploded, the demonic plants would wither. Before Yun Chujio could rejoice, she realized that the withered demonic plants were quickly resurrecting and were still attacking Yun Chujio ferociously. Fuck. They could actually be resurrected on the spot. This was the rhythm of exhausting her to death. 4 hours later, Yun Chujio was so tired that she was sweating profusely. This fellow had a miserable look on his face. Could it be that she was going to die of exhaustion in this tomb? Just when Yun Chujio was at her wit's end, the Guai Chao in her dantian began to clamor weakly. Yun Chujio frowned. You want to eat it? Are you sure these things are edible? Guai Chao nodded excitedly. Yun Chujio curled her lips. You can eat the things in this tomb. Aren't you afraid of eating your stomach? However, although Yun Chujio was 100 times reluctant, in order to survive, she had no choice but to, start eating. Yun Chujio used her defensive spirit tool to get close to a demonic plant. She pulled it over and began to eat it. As she ate, she thought sadly, fuck. She was really no different from those zombies now. Those demonic plants obviously did not expect to encounter a pervert who would start eating at the slightest disagreement. You are fucking human. You are not a herbivorous demonic beast. How dare you eat us? You pervert. Those poisonous demonic plants thought proudly that she would definitely not eat them. Their bodies were all extremely poisonous, and if she took a bite, she would be poisoned to death. After that, there was no after, because, without exception, they were all eaten by this pervert, Yun Chujio. Not to mention being poisoned, other than burping a few times, there was no discomfort at all. The demonic plants were afraid and hid back inside the wall, afraid that they would be eaten by this pervert. Yun Chujio, this fellow, was now a villain who had achieved his goal. She immediately changed her scowling expression from before. She placed her hands on her waist and shouted loudly, HMPH. Who else? Who else? Who else? If you have the ability, continue to attack me. I will eat all of you, not leaving a single one alive. Even though the demonic plants had already hid back on the stone wall, they were still trembling in fear. Pervert. This was a pervert. If she had known this would happen, she would not have provoked her. Where did this pervert come from? Yun Chujio cursed for a while more. After she felt that she had vented her anger, she no longer paid attention to the demonic plants and prepared to find a way out. At this moment, a door suddenly opened in front of the main hall. Yun Chujio walked towards the door without hesitation. It was not that she was brave, but she had no other choice now. Yun Chujio walked through the door along the tomb path and saw a group of handsome men. There were all kinds of handsome men. Some were cold, some were demonic, some were muscular, some were scholarly, some were mature uncles, and some were handsome young men. When the handsome men saw Yun Chujio, they did not surround her. Instead, they used their eyes to express their love. Yun Chujio shivered. Alright, although she liked handsome men, she could not afford to have such a large group. Besides, these people were quite beautiful. However, compared to the mermaid brother and the gigolo, they were not at all inferior. They only had skin and no temperament. There was only one word: vulgar. Chapter 1267, Little tricks. Those handsome men had been secretly flirting with her for a long time, but Yun Chujio was still standing there like a wooden stake. They were all a little confused. That's not right. Is this little girl still not enlightened? Why is there no reaction at all? Impossible. Even the old lady could not resist their charm. She must have been scared by the demonic plants from before. They tried harder, not believing that she would not take the bait. The handsome men continued to display their charm and heard the little girl say, "Are your eyes cramping? Do you need me to treat your eyes?" The handsome men suddenly felt their confidence being trampled on by someone, and they even stomped dozens of times. "If you don't have cramps, then they'll get out of the way. I want to go over. Good dogs don't get in the way." Yun Chujio held a rolling pin in her hand and said to the handsome men as if she was driving a dog. The handsome men were immediately enraged. One by one, they pounced on Yun Chujio with twisted faces. Yun Chujio attacked them with the small purple needles while saying, "Humph. Each and every one of them is extremely ugly. They are still posing there. How shameless." The handsome men obviously did not want to be called ugly, so they attacked even more crazily. However, although they looked beautiful, their spiritual power level was really average. Yun Chujio quickly rushed to the other door, pushed it open and rushed out. After Yun Chujio passed through the door, those handsome men turned into white hair and scattered on the ground. Yun Chujio naturally did not know all of this. She was now looking at the handsome man in front of her with a dumbfounded face. The handsome man in front of her looked like Di Biming. Even the expression on his face was the same as Di Biming's. "Black thing, come here. I have something to tell you," the man said indifferently. Yun Chujio covered her mouth with her hand and stared at the man in front of her. TSK, although it was an illusion, it was very realistic. It was actually exactly the same as the gigolo. After she learned the puppet technique of the dry old man, she would modify it and make a gigolo puppet with a ratio of 1:1. She would ask him to serve tea and sing a song whenever she was free, ha ha ha. The man obviously did not expect this situation. Although the little girl in front of him was staring at him like a hook, she did not look infatuated at all. Instead, she looked like she was sizing up an object. In the end, she even started laughing strangely. However, why did that laughter sound so eerie and terrifying? He decided to put in more effort. "Black thing, what are you still standing there for? Why aren't you coming over?" "All right," Yun Chujio said with a smile. The man was very proud. As long as she touched him, he would be able to achieve his goal. Just as he was thinking, he never expected Yun Chujio to throw a rolling pin at him. "You shameless bastard. How dare you imitate a gigolo? I'll slap you to death. Do you know what it means to draw a tiger but not turn it into a dog? You are. Little fellow, no matter how good your imitation is, I only need to take a look to tell if it's real or fake. How dare you put on such a little trick in front of me? It's so funny." The man was so scared that he hurriedly dodged. Yun Chujio shot out several small purple needles consecutively. After the man was hit by the small purple needles, he disappeared. Yun Chujio found that the person in front of her had changed again. It was Yun Chi's appearance. "Little Jiu, didn't you say that you wanted to repay me? Then you should repay me now. Now close your eyes and we will be together forever." Chapter 1268, Nine-Tailed Fox. Yun Chujio could not help but close her eyes. Yun Chi's eyes revealed a trace of viciousness. She turned into a wisp of green smoke and rushed towards Yun Chujio's forehead. Unexpectedly, Yun Chujio suddenly opened her eyes and jumped to the side. Several small purple needles shot into the green smoke. A miserable cry was heard from the green smoke. Then, the scene in front of Yun Chujio changed. It was a spacious tomb, and in front of it was a stone platform. 6 10,000-year-old black iron chains were tied to a huge demon beast. However, the demon beast had obviously been dead for a long time, and only a snow-white fur covered its skeleton. What surprised Yun Chujio the most was the 9 huge tails on the skeleton. The first thought in her mind was, "Nine-tailed fox." Could it be that a nine-tailed fox was once imprisoned here? Just as Yun Chujio was thinking about it, smoke rose from the skeleton and a gigantic demonic beast appeared in front of Yun Chujio. It was a nine-tailed fox with pure white fur. "Stupid girl, I didn't expect you to break my layers of illusion formations. Although it's a little strange, you still can't escape the fate of being possessed by me today. It's actually a fox. No wonder the illusions are all flirtatious and lascivious. You want to possess me? Ha ha, dream on. Besides, you're an ancient divine beast. How can my body withstand your soul? Stupid girl, although I don't know the reason, your body is definitely the most suitable for me. That's why I used my remaining magic power to bring you in. Although you're a woman, it's alright. I've been waiting for tens of thousands of years for today." Nine-tailed fox said until here. 9 tails suddenly grew longer and coiled towards Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio dodged and shot several bolts of lightning at the nine-tailed fox. Even remnant souls were afraid of lightning, and the nine-tailed fox was no exception. The nine-tailed fox sneered, "Although our remnant souls are afraid of heavenly lightning, you are too weak. This little bit of heavenly lightning can't harm me." Sure enough, the nine-tailed fox did not even dodge. Yun Chujio's heavenly lightning struck the remnant soul's tail, but it really did not have any effect. Yun Chujio switched to using the small purple needles to attack. Although the effect was better, it was like an ant shaking a tree. The effect was basically negligible. Yun Chujio tried to use 8 immortal swords to attack again, and she also used a rolling pin to hammer, but they were all useless. If it were not for the jade token given to her by the old man and the countless defensive spiritual weapons on her body, she would have died long ago. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes and suddenly rushed toward the skeleton that was tied up by the 10,000-year black iron. She shot several bolts of lightning at the huge fur. "Stop! You stop!" The nine-tailed fox was indeed anxious. How could Yun Chujio stop? She hacked even harder. "Damn it, you are about to possess me, why should I listen to you? I will burn this fox's skin first." "Stupid girl. Do you think you can deal with me just because you burned my skin and fur? I'm just a little reluctant. If you want to burn it, go ahead. I'll kill you first." As expected, the nine-tailed fox stopped stopping Yun Chujio. Instead, it launched an even fiercer attack. Yun Chujio's heart sank. It seemed that burning its skin and fur was really useless. Then how could she kill it? Yun Chujio suddenly slapped her thigh. "I'm so stupid. Since the remnant soul of the nine-tailed fox could exist here, it meant that Fu Ao and the others could do the same. Stinky fox, let's see how he'll deal with you. Stinky fox. Stop first. I can agree to be possessed by you. Anyway, I can't beat you, so I might as well suffer less. Yun Chujio suddenly shouted. Chapter 1269 was her lover a monkey spirit. Nine-tailed fox was stunned, but it was a suspicious fox. It asked suspiciously, what trick are you trying to play? I'm warning you, not to mention a puny second-level spirit overlord like you, even someone who is 100 times stronger than you is no match for me. Since you're so confident, are you still afraid of me playing tricks? I'm about to die, you have to at least give me some time to say goodbye to this world. Yun Chujia's eyes reddened as she said sadly. The nine-tailed fox thought about it and felt that it was right. This little girl was really too weak. Why should I be afraid of her? When it thought about this, it retracted its 9 huge tails and stared at Yun Chujio. The little girl howled, oh my god. I'm really too miserable. I'm only 18 years old. I'm going to die. I'm not married yet. I haven't even given birth to a monkey yet. I'm really unwilling to die. Nine-tailed fox was stunned. Give birth to a monkey? Could it be that this little girl's lover was a monkey spirit? No one is more miserable than me. I was abandoned since I was young, and then my adoptive parents went missing. Furthermore, it was a charcoal ball. It was not easy for me to become a devastatingly beautiful woman, but my body was actually going to be taken over by a seductive fox. What a waste of a heavenly gift. It's still a fucking male. Won't I become a transvestite in the future? Although the nine-tailed fox did not find what Yun Chujio said pleasing to the ears, it did not find anything wrong with it because it felt that it was a demon, and Yun Chujio was a human. After it possessed her, it was indeed a human demon. Just as the nine-tailed fox was slightly distracted, Yun Chujio had already begun to move. Several small green bottles were opened by her, and even the natal puppet of the old man surnamed Yin was released by her. When Fu Ao and the others were released and saw the huge nine-tailed fox in front of them, they wanted to kneel down to Yun Chujio. Oh my god, how can you always provoke some incredible existences? This is the ancient divine beast, the nine-tailed fox. Even when they were at their peak spiritual power, they were still not its match. The nine-tailed fox was even more dumbfounded. What the hell are these things? The remnant souls of ancient cultivators. Although they were very weak, there were too many of them. Were they planning to gang up on it? Stupid girl. I didn't expect you to have so many remnant souls of ancient cultivators, but you miscalculated. They are too weak now, they can't do anything to me. Although the nine-tailed fox was a little nervous, however, its attitude was still very arrogant. Yun Chujio didn't have time to talk nonsense with it. She commanded the remnant souls to start a round of battle. Both sides were evenly matched. However, Yun Chujio felt that in the end, her side would lose more. After all, some remnant souls were very weak now and could easily disappear completely. She had to end the battle as soon as possible. At this moment, Yun Chujio caught a glimpse of Old Man Een who was crazily fiddling with his natal puppet. Old Man Een. What are you doing? Didn't you say that your Een clan's puppet is very powerful? Prove it to me. I don't believe that such a small toy is powerful at all. Yun Chujio said disdainfully. When the old man surnamed Een heard Yun Chujio's words, he immediately went crazy. What a joke. Our Een clan's puppet isn't strong. If it's not strong, will Tian Dao destroy us? As soon as the old man surnamed Een finished speaking, he heard a huge heavenly thunder coming from above his head. All the remnant souls were shocked, and even the nine-tailed fox trembled in fear. Only Yun Chujio felt that this voice was very friendly. Chapter 1270 was the puppet. Seeing this, Yun Chujio shouted happily, "Good scolding! Good scolding! What a good scolding! Old man Een, hurry up and continue scolding." The old man surnamed Een was almost scared to death by the heavenly lightning. He did not dare to say anything more. Even his crazy look was much better. It was obvious that he had been scared awake. Yun Chujio was not afraid of those things. She shouted loudly, "Tian Dao is an old bastard. Tian Dao is a turtle bastard. Tian Dao is a shameless bastard." All the remnant souls, including the nine-tailed fox, wished they could shut Yun Chujio's mouth. However, the strange thing was that after Yun Chujio cursed for a long time, nothing happened. There was no heavenly lightning at all. All the souls were puzzled. What was going on? "Old man Een, don't just stand there. Didn't you say that your puppet is powerful? Then hurry up and attack. Let me see." Yun Chujio did not have the time to think about why the heavenly lightning did not strike. The old man surnamed Een snorted coldly. He didn't do anything. The natal puppet actually began to grow rapidly. It actually became almost the same size as the nine-tailed fox. Then, it threw several wind blades at the nine-tailed fox. Those wind blades weren't the wind blades that Yun Chujio usually saw. This couldn't even be called a wind blade. It should be called a machete. It was too domineering. Yun Chujio's eyes immediately shone with a blue light. Damn! This thing was called a puppet. Not only could it be powerful, but it was also clearly able to distinguish between friend and foe. Its attack power was also so fierce. This was great. She must learn this puppet technique. When the time came, she would let the old man see it. Nine-tailed fox clearly did not expect Yun Chujio to have such a perverse thing. She immediately fell into a disadvantageous position. Yun Chujio was afraid that the old man surnamed Een would go crazy again in a while, so she quickly ordered Fu Ao and the others to strike while the iron was hot. She had to end the battle quickly, and she did not stop using purple needles to launch sneak attacks. After a quarter of an hour, the nine-tailed fox could not hold on any longer. Its figure gradually faded. It gritted its teeth and decided to stake everything. It suddenly rushed towards Yun Chujio, who was launching a sneak attack, between her eyebrows. It planned to forcefully possess her. The risk of forcibly possessing her was very high, but now there was no other choice. Moreover, it believed that she was an ancient divine beast. Her spiritual sense must be much stronger than Yun Chujio's. She would definitely be able to successfully possess her. As long as she had a body. Her magic power would increase by 60%. At that time, these remnant souls would be nothing to be afraid of. Although Yun Chujio was on guard, the nine-tailed fox's speed was too fast. It still allowed her to drill into her spiritual sense. The old man surnamed Een was shocked and said, "Oh no. If the nine-tailed fox wants to forcefully possess her, I'm afraid the little girl will be finished." Fu Ao and the others were not too worried. "Don't worry. Although the nine-tailed fox is powerful, it might not succeed. The little girl's spiritual sense is very powerful." The old man surnamed Een did not quite believe it. Although she could command 8 immortal swords at the same time, how strong could a second-level spirit sect little girl's spiritual sense be? How could Fu Ao and the others believe in her so much? Yun Chujio sat down cross-legged, and the little silver dragon inside the rolling pin flew into Yun Chujio's forehead. This guy was rubbing his fists and rubbing his palms. This was my chance to show off again. Fuck, a flirtatious fox wants to possess. Did you ask this heavenly dragon? At this moment, the nine-tailed fox was being beaten up by the group in a daze. What the fuck were these things? Qi Ling. How could there be so many Qi Ling in the little girl's spiritual sense? The miniature Yun Chujio hugged her shoulders and looked at the nine-tailed fox who was being beaten up by a group of people. Foxy fox, I didn't expect you to be so stupid as to want to walk into a trap. HMPH, you want to take my house? You're really courting death. Beat it up for me. Eat it and all of you will be much stronger. Perhaps your main bodies can also be upgraded. Chapter 1271 You're really a wild goose plucking its feathers. After hearing Yun Chujia's words, the artifact spirits became even more enthusiastic in their fight. Especially the little silver dragon that had just flown in, it gave the nine-tailed fox a claw. You coquettish fox! You dare to be impudent in front of my heavenly dragon? I'll slap you to death, you little, bitch, bastard. Although the nine-tailed fox was shocked previously, it was not to the extent of being defeated. However, when it saw the little silver dragon, its heart instantly turned cold. If it was outside, it would naturally not be afraid of a broken stick. However, in its spiritual sense, its advantage was not so obvious compared to the little silver dragon, not to mention that it had so many weapon spirits. When it saw Yun Chujio attacking it with purple lightning again, it felt even more regretful. If it had known earlier, it would have waited for tens of thousands of years to not provoke this wretched girl. Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Many weapon spirits swarmed forward, and with Yun Chujia's lightning, in less than an hour, the remnant soul of the nine-tailed fox was eaten by many weapon spirits. Of course, Yun Chujio ate the most, followed by the little silver dragon. Although the other weapon spirits were indignant, they did not dare to say anything. Originally, Yun Chujio did not break the contract with them according to the agreement, so they were very angry, but now that they saw the benefits, they felt that it was not bad to follow this little girl. In any case, the only people who often went out to be thugs were the 8 immortal swords. It was not bad for them to eat for free. After Yun Chujio ate the remnant soul of the nine-tailed fox, she opened her eyes. Fu Ao and the others were not worried at all about Yun Chujio being possessed, because throughout the entire process, this guy's expression was very calm. If she was possessed, her expression would definitely be very painful. The first thing that Yun Chujio did when she got up, cough cough, was to put the huge skeleton and fur of the nine-tailed fox into her storage ring. TSK, this huge fox skin looked much stronger than the old witch's snow cashmere blanket. After this fellow put away the skeleton and fur, he stared at the 6 10,000-year-old profound iron chains on the ground. If he were to turn this thing into a puppet, it would simply be awesome. Therefore, he began to pull the 10,000-year-old mysterious chains on the ground. The remnant souls could not bear to look at him anymore. He was really pulling the feathers out of a goose. If the mysterious chains could be pulled, would the nine-tailed fox still be trapped inside? Unexpectedly, one of the nine-tailed fox's chains was actually pulled out by Yun Chujio, probably because the nine-tailed fox was already dead. This guy used too much strength and fell to the ground with a plop. The fox did not care about the pain in its butt, and quickly pulled the other 5 10,000-year-old chains down as well. It happily put them into its storage ring. At this moment, it felt that the entire tomb began to tremble, and it was actually about to collapse. It turned out that the formation plate of the tomb was fixed by these 6 chains. With Yun Chujia's pull, the formation plate was indirectly destroyed. Yun Chujio was dumbfounded. She quickly put away all the remnant souls, then set up the spiritual energy shield and activated all the defensive spiritual weapons. Then, she hid in a place supported by pillars. At this moment, Din Huangfu and the others were discussing Yun Chujia's whereabouts on the Forbidden Land. They felt the ground tremble violently, and they were so scared that they hurriedly jumped to a safe place. Then, they realized that the ground had started to sink, and the sound of buildings collapsing came from below. The collapse lasted for an hour, and a huge pit appeared on the ground. Everyone connected this incident to Yun Chujio as a matter of course. Could it be that Yun Chujio had mistakenly entered the Forbidden Land and was buried there? Chapter 1272 The Seven Treasures Sky Shielding Umbrella. Feng Ming and the other two shouted, "Junior Sister Jiu! Junior Sister Jiu! Are you down there?" Yin Sulian gloated, "Even if you're down there, you'll definitely be smashed to death. With such a big stance, not to mention her, even a spirit paragon wouldn't be able to withstand it. This is karma." "Shut up. Junior Sister Jiu will definitely be fine. Yin Xinlian's death is her deserved punishment. Moreover, on the life and death arena, life and death are the responsibility." Feng Ming roared angrily. "Feng Ming, in the past, Yun Chujio protected you all. Now that she's dead, just you wait. Just the three of you trash, sooner or later, HMPH. Yin Sulian's meaning was self-evident. Sooner or later, Feng Ming and the other two would be killed. Feng Ming and the other two were so angry that they were about to retort, then, they heard a leisurely voice coming from the deep pit. "Who's farting again? Am I going to die? Yin Sulian, a little bitch like you isn't dead yet. How can I die?" Following the voice, Yun Chujio flew up on the chopping board. Although her body was covered in dust, she looked energetic and did not look injured at all. You are not dead." Yin Sulian blurted out. "It seems that you really want me to die. Din Huangfu, I was attacked by 3 masked men this morning. You have to investigate carefully. Maybe someone took advantage of my position and tried to kill me for personal revenge." Yun Chujio said with a hint. Din Huangfu naturally understood who Yun Chujio was talking about. He nodded and said, "I will investigate thoroughly. Come to my study tomorrow morning." Yun Chujio looked at the sky and said, "Din, there's no need for tomorrow. Go now. The heavenly lightning is coming for me." Din Huangfu raised his head. Wu Yun had indeed started to gather. It seemed that this little girl had found an opportunity and was about to break through. Din Huangfu didn't dare to tarry. He hurriedly brought Yun Chujio to his own courtyard and activated the isolation array. Everyone was already used to it, so only a few people were watching from afar. Most of them had returned to their dormitories. In any case, every strike was the same, so there was really no point in it. However, Yun Chujio was slightly worried. "Din, the lightning this time seems to be more severe than the previous ones. You'd better stay away from me to avoid being accidentally injured." Din Huangfu also felt that the pressure from Wu Yun this time was more severe than usual. He thought to himself, could it be that the lightning was more severe because Yun Chujio was about to break through to the level of a spirit saint? Yun Chujio, this fellow, had guessed a little. Previously, she had scolded the Tian Dao in the tomb. It was probably to give her a second chance. "Din, in order not to accidentally injure you, they'll let the lightning strike a hole this time. Don't worry, it won't kill me." Yun Chujio sat cross-legged in the northwest corner of the courtyard. Although Din Huangfu had seen Yun Chujio's abnormal performance, he was still a little worried and gritted his teeth. He took out an exquisite small umbrella from his storage ring in pain. "This is the 7 Treasures Sky Shielding Umbrella. It's a defensive immortal tool. Quickly refine it. It might be useful later." Yun Chujio didn't stand on ceremony. After dripping blood, she refined it. At this moment, the sky had completely darkened. The immense pressure made it hard for people to breathe. Those who were watching the show had all left. They felt that if they stayed any longer, they would definitely vomit blood. Even Dean Huangfu felt that he couldn't breathe. Only Yun Chujio was still sitting there calmly. She wasn't affected at all. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.